Chapter 283. P.S. Here's today's update. And, at the same time, I'd like to solicit votes for Chidian's 5/15 fan festival. Everyone has 8 votes, and the votes will be rewarded with coins. Thank you, sir. Yang Baoshu was overjoyed. He carefully picked up the modesty sword and almost dropped it when he felt its weight in his hand. It was definitely not an ordinary item. He had never seen such a heavy wooden sword before. If it was really a wooden sword, it would definitely be valuable. It seemed that Mr. Chu was really rich. The scabbard, the material, and the workmanship were definitely not ordinary. At first glance, it did not look like much, but after touching it carefully, he realized how valuable it was. Only those who knew their stuff would know how valuable this scabbard was. He was rich. He was really rich. Chu Li looked at Yang Baoshu's mesmerized expression and laughed to himself. After touching the scabbard carefully, Yang Baoshu became even more careful. He pressed the spring and slowly pulled out the modesty sword. Be careful, don't cut your hand, Chu Li reminded him and continued eating his dumplings. Yang Baoshu nodded absent-mindedly and carefully looked at the body of the modesty sword. He looked at it from left to right and carefully touched it. It looked like wood, but it was definitely not a wooden sword. It should be a strange material. Needless to say, such a rare material that he had never heard of before must be expensive. He gently swung the sword and felt its weight. Don't hurt yourself, Chu Li reminded him again. The modesty sword looked like a wooden sword, so people would subconsciously think that it was not sharp. In fact, it was the exact opposite. A novice like Yang Baoshu, who was sitting at the table and swinging the sword, could easily hurt himself. Yang Baoshu swung the sword and laughed. How can I hurt myself? Before he could finish, the tip of the sword hit the stone table. After all, he could not use it while sitting. A corner of the stone table silently fell. He did not feel anything and did not even know that he had shaved the stone table. Bang! The stone table fell. Only then did he realize that something was wrong. He quickly looked down and saw the smooth cut, then looked at the modesty sword. His heart skipped a beat, and he was so scared that he almost threw it out. Fortunately, it hit the stone table. If it had really fallen on him, he would have lost a part of his body. It's a good sword. Yang Baoshu forced a smile at Chu Li. Chu Li smiled. It's good for the body. It's for nourishing one's health. It's just for fun. Yang Baoshu carefully put the modesty sword back into its scabbard and let out a long sigh of relief before placing it back on the table. He smiled and said, You must be an expert. Oh, how high? Chu Li asked casually. He continued eating the dumplings. Yang Baoshu said, Mister, you must be a martial arts expert. A normal person would never use such a precious sword. Do I look like someone who practices martial arts? Chu Li smiled and ate the last dumpling. He let out a long sigh of satisfaction. Yang Baoshu eagerly served Chu Li a cup of tea. I've heard that a lot of masters like to hide their abilities. The greatest recluse is hidden in the city, just like Mr. Chu. Chu Li laughed and shook his head. All right, as a master, I'll give you a few words as thanks for the meal. Please speak, mister. Yang Baoshu stared at him excitedly. Chu Li said, The spirit monkey is the most agile. It's lively and agile, just like your mind. The more agile your mind is, the more agile the spirit monkey will be. If that's the case, Yang Baoshu suddenly understood and said, So I've practiced it wrongly? Chu Li said, I'm just talking about the spirit monkey. As for the spirit monkey fist, you'll have to figure it out yourself. Thank you, mister, Yang Baoshu said excitedly. He suddenly felt like he understood everything. Why was it so awkward to practice the spirit monkey fist? It was because he was using the wrong method. He was using the wrong force. He should not be using too much force, but should be more agile. If only he had listened to Mr. Chu earlier. He might have mastered the spirit monkey fist a long time ago. He took the bowl and chopsticks back to his courtyard and hurriedly sent them to the kitchen. He then ran to the courtyard and began practicing. As he practiced, he found a feeling of being agile. Mr. Next Door, are you satisfied? Yang Baoshu's mother came to the courtyard from the kitchen and watched him practice. What kind of nonsense are you practicing? Look at how you've practiced your fist technique. It's so weird. How is it weird? Young Baoshu asked as he practiced. No, no, that's not how your father practiced. Madame Zhou shook her head. Mother, father practiced it wrongly. The spirit monkey fist is the spirit monkey fist. The spirit monkey is very agile, young Baoshu said. Don't talk nonsense. That's not how your father practiced. Madame Zhou scoffed. Young Baoshu said, this is what Mr. Chu said. The spirit monkey is agile, just like a human's mind. He's not a martial artist. What does he know? Mr. Chu is a scholar. He read about the spirit monkey in books. If he's a scholar, why would he lie to me? He gave me pointers to repay you for your meal. Mr. Chu admires your cooking very much. Although he felt that Mr. Chu was an otherworldly master, he would be ridiculed if he told his mother. It was better not to say anything. You ate my meal, and you're still spouting nonsense. What a waste of my dumplings. Madame Zhou was indignant. Young Baoshu quickly said, Mother, lower your voice. Mr. Chu can hear you. So what if he hears me? I didn't say anything wrong. She lowered her voice. Young Baoshu said, Mother, I'll try it out first. If it's really wrong, I'll change it back. All right, you have to know what you're doing. Don't be fooled by his words. Yes, I know what I'm doing. Chu Li smiled as he listened to their conversation. Then, he calmed down and continued practicing. After practicing the spirit monkey fist for half a night, young Baoshu felt that his skills had improved tremendously. He was unusually agile. Therefore, he left home early the next morning and went to the Flying Goose Association. The Flying Goose Association was a large courtyard. In the middle of the courtyard was a wide martial arts field with various weapons placed beside it. When he arrived, there were already more than 10 people practicing diligently. A tall and handsome young man came up to him. Baoshu, what's the good news? Why are you so happy? Zheng Xia, watch the show. I'm going to teach that who a lesson today. Young Baoshu said confidently. Zheng Xia heard him and quickly pulled him back. Are you crazy? You should be thankful that he's not looking for trouble with you. Why are you looking for trouble with him? It's time for me to take my revenge. Young Baoshu scoffed. Our martial arts are not as good as who use, Zheng Xia said softly. How are we going to fight? I've found the essence of the spirit monkey fist. This time, I'm going to beat him until he's begging for mercy. Young Baoshu scoffed. The essence of the spirit monkey fist? Zheng Xia was skeptical. Hey, isn't this Brother Baoshu? Suddenly, a sarcastic voice came from behind them. Young Baoshu and Zheng Xia turned around and stared. A skinny, small, and tanned young man stared at them with a smile. There was a lazy, sarcastic smile on his small, tanned face. Brother Baoshu, you're early today. Why are you suddenly so diligent? Do you want to practice martial arts well? Who you let spar? Young Baoshu said angrily. Yo, who you let out a strange cry and said, gesticulating? You said we should spar? Young Baoshu puffed up his chest. Who you said? That's not spar. I'm going to beat you up. I'm going to beat you up this time. Young Baoshu snorted. You're going crazy today. Who you chuckled. You want to beat me up? Sure. Let's see who's going to beat who up. Take this. As soon as he finished speaking, he threw a punch. Young Baoshu leaped and dodged it easily. Hey, you grown up. Who you laughed strangely and pounced forward. His dark fists were small, fast, and ruthless. Young Baoshu was able to maintain his agility at first as he dodged here and there. However, after more than 10 moves, he was hit by a punch and was flustered. He was instantly enraged and used all his strength. Hu Yu gave him a good beating. If Zheng Xia had not desperately stopped him, Hu Yu would not have given up. Chapter 284. P.S. Here's today's update. And at the same time, I'd like to garner votes for Chidian's 5/15 Fan Festival. Everyone has 8 votes, and you'll even get some coins for voting. P.S. There's not much time left. Can you reach 5,000 votes? Do you want to read 6 updates a day? Hu Yu laughed proudly as he left. He went to the training ground to continue practicing. Zheng Xia helplessly looked at young Baoshu, whose head was bleeding. He shook his head. Is this the essence of the agile monkey fist? Zheng Xia helped him cover his forehead. There was a cut on his forehead. Young Baoshu covered his nose to stop the blood from flowing out. He said in a muffled voice, I haven't mastered it, but I'm doing it the right way. Didn't you see how many of his moves I blocked? I think it's useless, Zhang Xia said. You can't hit him at all. I'll continue practicing. I'll definitely beat him up and take my revenge, Yang Baoshu said resentfully. Zhang Xia asked, where did you learn the essence of the agile monkey fist? An expert taught me, Yang Baoshu said. Zhang Xia laughed. Yang Baoshu said, why? You don't believe me? I believe you. I believe you. Zhang Xia quickly nodded. Go sit over there for a while. I'll wash up and apply some ointment for you. Otherwise, your mother will beat you up again when we get home. Yang Baoshu had suffered many punches. It was not obvious yet, but it would become bruised and swollen after a while. Sigh. Yang Baoshu sighed helplessly. When he returned home in the evening, the bruises had not completely disappeared. Seeing him in an even worse state, Madame Zhou scolded. Are you done? Is this the agile monkey you were talking about? Agile my foot. He was beaten up so badly. What agile monkey? I think he's a dead monkey. Mother, I didn't practice well. I'll definitely be able to take my revenge if I practice for a few more days. Yang Baoshu quickly said, what's the point of practicing? I fought better than before today, and that's why he was so ruthless. I'll definitely improve and surpass him. Yang Baoshu quickly said, really? Madame Zhou was skeptical. Mother, I want to practice at home for a few days. Yang Baoshu said, I'll practice in isolation. All right, if you can't beat Hu after a few more days, you're not allowed to practice anymore. Madame Zhou scoffed. All right. Yang Baoshu quickly agreed. He did not leave the house for a few days. He had been practicing all this time. When he was tired, he would meditate and adjust his breathing to recover his strength. Sometimes she would sneak a peek at the next door and see Chu Li sitting cross-legged on the stone table, not moving at all. He felt that he was becoming more and more mysterious. He must be an expert who was practicing internal energy. It was a pity that his inner force cultivation method was only the basic cultivation method of the lowest-level disciples of the Flying Goose Gang. It was useless in battle, but it was good for recovering his strength. 5 days later, in the morning, Yang Baoshu and Hu Yu stood facing each other in the martial arts field of the Flying Swan Association, while Zhang Xia stood beside them. Yang Baoshu was tall and sturdy, while Hu Yu was short, thin, and dark. The two of them were half a head apart. Training in seclusion, Hu Yu chuckled. Sure, you have ambition. I want to see how much you've grown. You with the surname Hu, I'll beat you to death. Yang Baoshu scoffed. He was full of confidence. He felt that his agile monkey fist was getting better and better. It was getting deeper and stronger. Watch my fist. Hu Yu let out a strange laugh as he pounced forward. Yang Baoshu leaped nimbly and dodged the black, small, and heavy fist. Ouch again. Hu Yu chased after him with a strange laugh. Yang Baoshu darted around like a monkey. He dodged Hu Yu's fists, and in the blink of an eye, they had exchanged more than 20 blows. Hu Yu chased after him and shouted, Come on, Baoshu. Why don't you come and beat me to death? Why are you running? Yang Baoshu kept dodging and darting around. In the past, he could not run even if he wanted to. Now that he had improved and mastered the agile monkey fist, his body movement technique was more agile. Baoshu, this is not called the agile monkey fist. It's called the bereaved dog fist. Just keep running. Hu Yu chased after him and laughed. Your bereaved dog fist is very powerful. It can be used to escape. You're asking for a beating. Yang Baoshu shouted and leaped forward. Bam! Hu Yu was caught off guard and his thin, dark face was punched. Yang Baoshu. Hu Yu was enraged. His small and black fists rained down on Yang Baoshu like falling stones. Yang Baoshu dodged a few blows, but he could not dodge anymore. His face and body were punched many times. Zhang Xia quickly came over and held Hu Yu back, but he was also punched twice by Hu Yu. Hu Yu touched his face angrily and scoffed. I'll spare your life this time, for Zhang Xia's sake. Yang Baoshu covered his nose and glared at him. I'll beat you to death next time. Hu Yu was so angry that he wanted to throw a punch. Zhang Xia quickly stood in front of Yang Baoshu. Hu Yu, don't go too far. Hu Yu glared at Yang Baoshu. I'll teach you a lesson next time. Zheng Xia applied some ointment on his face and said, Bao Shu, are you really practicing the agile monkey fist, right? It's not working. Didn't you notice that I punched him? Young Bao Shu said excitedly. Did I improve? Hee hee, it feels good to punch him. This. Zheng Xia thought for a while. But he was right. Your fist technique is quite useful for escaping. Young Bao Shu glared at him. He felt that Mr. Chu was right. The agile monkey fist should be practiced this way. It was not that he did not practice it correctly, but that he did not practice it well enough. When evening came, he reluctantly walked back. When he reached the main street, his footsteps became slower. Zheng Xia's ointment was good. His uncle was the commander of the Sharp Metal Clan, and he stole the ointment from his uncle. However, no matter how good the ointment was, it could not completely remove the bruises on his face. When he returned home, he would definitely be beaten by his mother. His eyes lit up when he saw Chu Li carrying a basket of fruits. His white robe fluttered as he slowly walked over. Mr. Young Bao Shu quickly gave him a fist salute. Chu Li glanced at him but did not say anything. He continued walking slowly as if he did not know him. Young Bao Shu was already used to it. He knew that Chu Li would ignore him outside. Therefore, he quickened his pace and returned home. Naturally, he was beaten up. Madame Zhou strictly forbade him from practicing recklessly. Young Bao Shu could not dissuade his mother, so he could only practice obediently. The more he practiced, the more awkward it became. However, when he left the house and went to the martial arts field of the Flying Swan Association, he still followed his own ideas and moved nimbly. The evening mist was heavy and the sky was dark. Chu Li was practicing his swordsmanship. Young Bao Shu climbed up the wall with a ladder and held a plate of dumplings in his hand. He chuckled as he lifted the ladder and placed the dumplings on the stone table. He passed a pair of chopsticks to Chu Li. Mister, have a taste. Chu Li put down his sword and took the chopsticks. Didn't your mother refuse to cook for me? Sigh. My mother has a sharp tongue, but a soft heart. She said that a man like you might not know how to cook, young Bao Shu said with a smile. Mister, thank you for your guidance. I'm much better now. Chu Li focused on eating the dumplings. Mister, what kind of swordsmanship are you practicing? What do you think? It must be very profound. It's just a normal health maintenance technique. Young Bao Shu nodded in agreement. It did not seem like a swordsmanship for killing people. It was more like a swordsmanship for strengthening one's body. His treasured sword was heavy, so this kind of training technique was indeed useful for strengthening one's body. Chu Li slowly finished his dumplings and wiped his mouth with a handkerchief. All right, show me the agile monkey fist. Chapter 285. P.S. Here's today's update. And, at the same time, pull some votes for Chidian's 515 Fan Day. Everyone has 8 votes, and the votes will be rewarded with coins. Chu Li said, I don't really understand it. I'm just looking around. All right. Young Bao Shu quickly got up. He moved his limbs, and his face turned serious as he started to perform a set of fist techniques. His movements were light and agile, and his tall body seemed to have shrunk. He bent his waist and shrunk his back as he jumped in and out, looking like a monkey. Chu Li nodded. Young Bao Shu was indeed talented. It was rare for him to be able to cultivate the agile monkey fist to this level with just a fist manual. After young Bao Shu finished a round of agile monkey fist, he looked at Chu Li. Chu Li muttered, I'll say this first. I'm just saying, don't take it seriously. Young Bao Shu stared at him. Sir, please speak. Chu Li said, if anyone asks, just say that you figured it out yourself and that you're enlightened. Yes, I want to talk about you. Young Bao Shu quickly nodded. It seemed like Sir Chu was indeed a master, and one that did not want others to know about. Young Bao Shu's luck was great. Chu Li stood up and tied his shirt to his waist. Punch me. Young Bao Shu carefully punched. Chu Li lowered his body and shrunk behind him. Young Bao Shu's heart skipped a beat, and when he turned around, the fist was already in front of his eyes. Chu Li said, Don't hold back. Then be careful, sir. Young Bao Shu was sure that he had met a master, so he quickly pulled himself together and punched with all his might. Chu Li lowered his body and kicked out. Bang! Young Bao Shu somersaulted and rolled away. He got up and said excitedly, "This technique can be used like this." Chu Li said, "Continue." Young Baoshu gave it his all and was continuously hit. Chu Li was using the agile monkey fist. But the agile monkey fists in his hands, every move was exquisite and precise. It was unavoidable. The agile monkey fist only had 36 forms, and Chu Li performed them one by one, showing the subtleties to Yang Baoshu. Yang Baoshu eagerly learned. He had practiced the agile monkey fist for over 10 years. Just by practicing this set of agile monkey fists, he would be able to execute it even with his eyes closed. He was extremely familiar with it. At this moment, it was as if a whole new world had opened up before his eyes. Chu Li retracted his fist and lowered his collar. "Let's stop here. Don't greet me on the streets again. Tell your mother to speak ill of me outside." "Ah." Yang Baoshu regained his senses and widened his eyes. Chu Li said, "Do as I say." "All right." Yang Baoshu nodded and asked, "Why is that?" "Because my enemy is too powerful. Killing you is no different from killing a chicken." Chu Li said, "You're not afraid of death, but what about your mother?" Yang Baoshu nodded vigorously. I understand. I will definitely make mother speak ill of you." Chu Li smiled and waved his hand. "If you want to come again in the future, wait until nighttime. Come here quietly and don't let anyone know." "Yes," Yang Baoshu quickly replied. When he thought of his mother, he sighed helplessly. Sir was so powerful, and his enemy was not weak either. If he really caused his mother to die, he would really be an unfilial son and a sinner for all eternity. It seemed like he must not let anyone see him coming here in the future. Chu Li said, "Go." Yang Baoshu reluctantly bid farewell and left. He bowed deeply at the top of the wall. Chu Li waved his hand and picked up his sword again. He began to practice leisurely. Yang Baoshu suddenly realized that Sir Chu seemed to be sad and lonely. It was really pitiful for him to live here alone. However, he did not expect Sir Chu to be a master. His luck was too good. Yang Baoshu shut himself in his house and practiced hard for the whole day. Early the next morning, he came to the martial arts field to wait for Hu Yu. Zhang Xia saw that he came so early and knew that he was going to challenge Hu Yu again. He sighed helplessly and walked over. "Baoshu, you still want to fight Hu Yu? This time, I will beat him until he pisses his pants." Yang Baoshu was in high spirits and full of confidence. Zhang Xia had seen his expression twice and did not believe it anymore. He sighed. "Brother, let's wait a little longer. Practice some more. I'm done, Zhang Xia. Just wait for the show." Yang Baoshu scoffed. He suddenly shouted, "Hu Yu, get over here." Hu Yu was bowing and following behind a middle-aged man. His tanned and small face was full of smiles. He was happier than when he saw his own mother. Everyone in the martial arts field heard Yang Baoshu's shout loud and clear. The middle-aged man in front of Hu Yu turned around. Zhang Xia pulled Yang Baoshu's sleeve. "Oh no, it's my uncle." The middle-aged man was burly and had a square face. He looked dignified and righteous. He was the acute Metal Clan's commander, Zhang Jin. His eyes were like lightning, shining brightly. It was as if he could see through one's heart and see through all evil tricks. Hu Yu whispered a few words to Zhang Jin. Zhang Jin frowned and looked at Yang Baoshu from afar. Yang Baoshu fist saluted. Zhang Xia's expression was solemn as he bowed meticulously. Zhang Jin walked over slowly and looked at Yang Baoshu. Shouting and yelling, "What a disgrace." "Yes, Commander Zhang. I want to challenge Hu Yu." Yang Baoshu quickly said, "Challenge? Can you defeat Hu Yu?" Zhang Jin scoffed. "Of course." Yang Baoshu shouted. Hu Yu scoffed. "Baoshu, stop fooling around." "Who's fooling around?" "Hu Yu, I'm going to beat you to death." Yang Baoshu glared at him and said angrily, "I'm going to beat you to death." Hu Yu cursed. He quickly bowed and apologized. "Commander, I've lost my composure." Zhang Jin said, "All right, I'd like to see what you're capable of. Let's compete now." Hu Yu coughed and said helplessly, "Commander, let's not embarrass ourselves, shall we? I've heard that your Blackstone fist technique is quite impressive." Zhang Jin said. As for Yang Baoshu, he knew him the best. Yang Baoshu was a good kid, but his martial arts skills were not up to par. His personality was also a little impulsive and immature. It would be difficult for him to take on such a big responsibility, so he needed to learn from each other. All right. Huyu's spirit was lifted as he agreed excitedly. He understood the commander's hidden meaning. If he performed well, he might be entrusted with an important task and become a leader from the lowest rank. He was so excited that he wanted to jump up. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. He had to perform well to let the commander know that he was worthy of the responsibility. Come on, Baoshu. Let's see how much you've improved. Huyu scoffed. Young Baoshu said coldly, You go first. Watch my fist. Huyu took a step forward and threw a punch. Young Baoshu's tall body shrunk. In a flash, he appeared behind Huyu and punched the back of Huyu's head. Ouch! Huyu screamed as he turned his head to attack. Young Baoshu jumped to the side to avoid the punch, but at the same time, he punched Huyu's shoulder. Huyu was shocked, but he quickly regained his spirit. This was a good opportunity for him, and he did not want to fail miserably. This kid's fist technique had really changed. It was tricky and strange. Hit! Young Baoshu screamed as he punched Huyu's back, followed by his neck and the back of his head. Each of his attacks was extremely vicious. In the blink of an eye, Huyu was hit more than 10 times. His inner energy was far superior to Young Baoshu's. Although he did not suffer any serious injuries, his face was burning hot. It was too embarrassing. Hit! Hit! Young Baoshu screamed as he punched Huyu. His screams became faster and faster. Chapter 286. P.S. Here's today's update. And, at the same time, pull some votes for Chidian's 515 Fan Day. Everyone has 8 votes, and the votes will be rewarded with coins. I beg for everyone's support and appreciation. Huyu flew into a rage out of humiliation and shouted angrily, Ah! He forcefully pushed Young Baoshu away as his body sped up, and so did his fists. Fight! Young Baoshu yelled as he ducked behind Chu Li. Huyu seemed to have eyes on the back of his head as he met Chu Li's fist with his own. Just as Young Baoshu's fists collided with Huyu's, his footsteps suddenly slid to the side. He managed to dodge Huyu's punch by a hair's breadth, and his fist hit Huyu's back. Huyu's fist hit empty air, so he sent out another punch. Young Baoshu ducked to avoid it. Huyu's other punch arrived, followed by another, falling like raindrops. Like a monkey, Young Baoshu squirmed in and out of Young Baoshu's fists. From time to time, he would land 1 or 2 punches. Are my ribs swollen? Instantaneous spring of ballast in just a short while. Huyu's face had been punched more than 10 times, and the corners of his mouth and eyes were bleeding. Stop! Zheng Jin shouted in a deep voice. Fight! Young Baoshu yelled as he retreated to Zheng Xia's side. Zheng Xia sized up his good brother in amazement. What a good, agile monkey fist. Huyu's dark face turned even darker. He forced a smile at Zheng Jin and said, Commander, I have lost. Your fist technique is pretty good. Zheng Jin nodded in satisfaction. From tomorrow onwards, you will lead 5 people. Huyu was startled for a moment before he was overjoyed. Many thanks, Incense Master. This subordinate will definitely sacrifice his life to repay Incense Master's great kindness. All right. Zheng Jin waved his hand dismissively. Do your best, and that will be your repayment to me. Huyu, what do you think of Young Baoshu's fist technique? The fist technique is very powerful. Huyu exclaimed in admiration. He wasn't this powerful in the past. It's really an eye-opener for me. It's just that his inner strength is a little lacking. It would be even better if his inner strength was a little deeper. His inner energy was much stronger than Young Baoshu's. Not bad. Zheng Jin nodded lightly. Haha, so lively. A loud laugh came from the door. A burly middle-aged man strode over and quickly arrived in front of them. He looked at Young Baoshu and then at Huyu. Then he gave Zheng Jin a fist salute and smiled. Elder Zheng, I heard that they fought. Old Hu, your Greenwood Hall has produced another talented person. Zheng Jin indifferently said. How about it? Can you part with your treasured book and transfer it to the Sharp Metal Hall? Baoshu, this child cannot be given to you. Hu Zhongping looked dignified and honest. He waved his hand and chuckled. Young lad, your aptitude isn't bad. I'm looking for an opportunity to give him some pointers. You can't snatch it from me. All right then. Zheng Jin didn't say anything more and turned to leave. After he left, Hu Zhongping looked at Yang Baoshu and sized him up. Yang Baoshu looked at Hu Zhongping calmly. Commander, I beat you up. You, who had been following Zheng Jin for a short distance, stopped and turned around. Yang Baoshu, just you wait. I'll deal with you tomorrow. Yang Baoshu puffed out his chest. I'll be waiting. I'll beat you to death. Hu sneered and hurriedly followed Zheng Jin. Hu Zhongping smiled and said, Baoshu, come, show me the agile monkey fist again. All right. Yang Baoshu answered and quickly performed the agile monkey fist. You're quite intelligent. Good lad. How did you cultivate it to this level? Commander, let me tell you, this is amazing. Yang Baoshu's eyes lit up and he said excitedly, I had a dream the night before yesterday. In the dream, I met an old man with a white beard. He taught me the agile monkey fist. I don't remember what he said, but when I woke up, I suddenly understood. Commander, is this a dream transmission? Yang Baoshu became even more excited as he asked. Commander, is this a dream transmission? Is there a master who wants to take me as a disciple? Baoshu, you have to be down to earth. Don't think too much. Hu Zhongping chuckled and patted his shoulder. But you're able to understand. It's true that you're sincere. It's rare. It's rare. Commander, Hu was defeated. Commander Zheng even promoted him to be a small leader among the five. Yang Baoshu smiled. You want to be a small leader? Commander, do you think I could be one? Sure, but you'll have to listen to Zheng Xia. Hu Zhongping said. Yang Baoshu looked at Zheng Xia. He's a small leader. I'm also a small leader. Why do I have to listen to him? Zheng Xia looked helpless. Hu Zhongping said, because you're not as smart as Zheng Xia. That's true. All right, I'll listen to Zheng Xia. Yang Baoshu thought about it and sighed. Then he became excited again. The salary of a small leader among the five would be doubled to 1 tael of silver a month. Now, his family would be well off. His mother would no longer need to weave cloth and make clothes for others. She would be able to enjoy life with him. When Yang Baoshu returned home, the lanterns were already lit. He bought some meat and some snacks. When he reached home, he told Madame Zhou, who was waiting anxiously. Madame Zhou was overjoyed and excitedly patted Yang Baoshu's head. Her son was finally successful. She then talked about his father. The dead man was unlucky. If he was still alive, he would be able to enjoy life with her son. She did not care that it was already dark and started to cook. She fried a big plate of meat and asked Yang Baoshu to send it to Chu Li. Yang Baoshu climbed up the ladder and was about to say something when he was stunned. Why was there a woman in Chu Li's courtyard? Her back was facing him, so he could not see her face clearly. However, just by looking at her back, he could tell that she was a great beauty. 3 lanterns were lit in the courtyard. Chu Li was playing chess with Co Shi at the stone table, while Yang Su was helping him clean up the house. Chu Li had not been there for 2 days. Now that Co Shi had come personally, he could not just reject him. She dragged him to play chess, saying that it was too boring to stay in the courtyard and wanted to take a walk to get some fresh air. Seeing Yang Baoshu standing on the wall, Chu Li waved his hand. Yang Baoshu quickly brought the ladder over and brought a plate of meat and a plate of rice. Sir, did I disturb you? Not at all. Your mother is making delicious food again. Bring it over, Chu Li said. Yang Baoshu brought the plate to the table. Co Shi, who had been frowning in deep thought, looked up and looked over. Boom! Yang Baoshu's mind went blank as soon as he saw Gu Shijiu's beautiful face. It was as if a thunderbolt had struck his head. His body froze, and he let go of the plate. Chu Li took it and placed it on the table. Co Shi pursed her lips and smiled. She looked at Chu Li, who had already picked up his chopsticks, and started eating. Didn't you eat? I'm not full yet. It's fine to eat a little more. Seems like your culinary skills are great. It's all right. Chu Li ate quickly. Although Co Shi smelled the aroma, she did not care. She had been weak since young and had a bad appetite. She had long lost her appetite. After Chu Li finished the plate of meat and the plate of rice, he let out a long sigh of relief. Yang Baoshu was still staring at Co Shi without moving. Co sure did not seem to see him and treated him like he was invisible. She continued to frown in deep thought. The situation on the chessboard was not in her favor. She was not convinced. Yang-su came out of the house and smiled. "Chief, who is this?" Chu-Li pointed to the east. Yang-su suddenly understood. She pursed her lips and looked at Yang Bao-shu. She washed the two plates and placed them on the table. Chu-Li coughed. Yang Bao-shu came back to his senses. His face was as red as a red cloth. Chapter 287. P.S. Here's today's update. And, at the same time, pull some votes for Chidian's 515 Fan Day. Everyone has 8 votes, and the votes will be rewarded with coins. I beg for everyone's support and appreciation. Chu-Li asked, "Did something good happen today?" Yes. Yang Bao-shu's gaze involuntarily drifted towards Co sure. Co sure rested her chin on her snow-white hand. Her jade-like face glowed with a gentle luster under the light, as if it was carved out of a piece of white jade. There was a faint blush on her cheeks. Yang Bao-shu could not imagine that such a beautiful person existed in this world. Co sure stared at the chessboard without moving an inch. Her brows were slightly furrowed, as if she was annoyed. Yang Bao-shu felt as if his heart was about to melt. Chu-Li asked, "What's the good news?" Oh, I became a small leader in the gang." Yang Bao-shu tried his best to avert his gaze, but he still glanced at her from time to time. He hoped that she would hear his words and look up at him again. Chu-Li found it interesting and said gently, "Not bad. The salary of a small leader is quite high. It's enough for your family to live on. Your mother doesn't have to work anymore." Yes. Yang Bao-shu smiled. In the end, she still did not raise her head to look at him. It's inevitable that factions will fight each other. Don't rush forward recklessly. Use the agile monkey fist to deal with your opponent, Chu-Li said solemnly. Yang Bao-shu forced himself to regain his composure and nodded vigorously. "Yes, mister. It's done." Xiao Shi let out a long sigh of relief. She gently placed a white chess piece on the board and smiled. Yang Bao-shu's smile was as beautiful as a flower. All he could see was a bright light in front of him, and the sky and earth were suddenly lit up. It was as if it was not nighttime, but a sunny, cloudless morning. Chu-Li was worried that he would not be able to pull himself out of it, so he passed him the plate. "Go ahead. I'll take my leave." Yang Bao-shu reluctantly turned around and slowly climbed up the ladder. As he climbed up the wall, he turned around to look behind him and realized that Co sure was urging Chu-Li to make his next move. He was filled with melancholy and disappointment. He walked down slowly. Bang! Ouch! He forgot to put the ladder back and missed a step, falling to the ground. "What are you doing?" Madame Zhou came out to take a look and said unhappily, "Have you lost your soul? The plates are all broken." "Mother, I'm fine," Yang Bao-shu said. Madame Zhou grunted, "I know you're fine. The plate broke." Chu-Li shook his head and laughed. Xiao Shi asked, "He's your disciple?" She ignored Yang Bao-shu for his own good. She knew her charm very well, so she spoke to him gently and kindly. That was teasing others, and it might even affect them for the rest of their lives. Indifference was the best way to deal with it. Chu-Li shook his head. It's rare to find someone with a pure and kind nature. I just gave him a few pointers. You just don't think there's enough trouble. Co sure stared at the chessboard. There were people from 2 different worlds, and their statuses were worlds apart. If they left this place, they would never meet again, so why bother? Chu-Li said, "He's a good seed. With proper nurturing, he might grow into a towering tree." Qingyun City was the closest to the divine capital. The position was extremely important. Planting a spy here might be of great use in the future. "He's so dumb. What can he accomplish?" Xiao Shi said. She admired Chu-Li's calmness and wisdom. He did not change his expression in the face of her beauty and remained unmoved. As for those who were scared out of their wits at the sight of her, she looked down on them and did not want to bother with them. Chu-Li shook his head and said, "Time makes the hero. We can't underestimate him." He usually strolled around leisurely. He knew the whole of Qingyun City very well, and nothing could be hidden from him. The Swan Goose Association was inconspicuous in Qingyun City. They were located in the slums and did not have much to offer. They were a group of poor people who gathered together to prevent others from bullying them. However, they were well-informed and did not attract attention. They could do many things that others could not. Anyway, don't forget what we're here for. CEO sure stared at the chessboard and said casually. Chuli smiled. We'll change places in a few days. CEO sure looked up at him. You still want to change? It won't be worse than here, right? Are you used to living here? How's it compared to the High Duke's public house? Chuli asked. What do you think? CEO sure scoffed. Chuli smiled. I don't know what the next place will be like. CEO sure said, I hope you'll get used to it. Young Baoshu spoke to Madame Zhou for a while and laid on the bed absent-mindedly. He looked up at the roof beam. His mind was filled with CEO Shure's beautiful face. He was distracted, and his heart was sweet and melancholic. He tossed and turned, unable to sleep. He got up and opened the window to look at the bright moon in the sky. Who was she to Mr. Chu? Looking at the way they talked, she seemed to be Mr. Chu's wife. Even if she was not his wife, they were very close. To be able to talk to such a beauty was a great blessing. Mr. Chu was able to face her and play chess with her. It was a blessing that he had accumulated in his past life. Thinking about the situation when they met, he felt even more humble. He could not help but let out a long sigh at the moon. It was the first time in his life that he felt melancholic. He felt lost, but he could not describe it. He looked at the moon, and as he looked, his heart skipped a beat. A strong impulse was boiling in his chest. This was how a man should be. Mr. Chu was not old, maybe only a few years older than him, but he was a hidden master of the martial arts world. He did not lack money, and he had a beautiful wife. Looking at himself, they were both human, but why was there such a big difference? If he was like Mr. Chu, with such a beautiful woman by his side, his life would not be in vain. If he lived a humble and ordinary life like this, it would be a waste of his life. Thinking about this, he leaped out of the window and practiced his fist technique under the moonlight. He was only a small leader now. If he wanted to have such a beauty, he would need to become a commander or even a leader. He still had a long way to go before he became an innate master. After practicing his fist technique for a while, he leaped back to the brick bed and sat cross-legged to adjust his breath and activate his heart technique. Chuli sat in the courtyard and saw through his thoughts. He shook his head and laughed. It seemed like all men were the same. The source of motivation was women. The young Baoshu who had seen CEO Sure and the young Baoshu who had not were two different people. He could see his own shadow in him. Unfortunately, the world was difficult. Not everything would go according to his wishes. When he first left the temple and came to the House of High Dukes, his ambition was overwhelming. He wanted to have all the beauties in the world, obtain power, and become the world's #1 master. In such a short time, his mindset had changed. Having Seo Chi was better than having all the beauties in the world, but he could not have her because he was too weak. He had been chasing after power, and he was already a rank 2 chief of the House of High Dukes. But compared to Princeton, compared to the Emperor, although his martial arts was Grandmaster, he still had to look up to enlightened masters. To become an enlightened master, he had 3 choices. He could go to the Tempest Temple, become the Emperor, or cultivate the heavenly demonic power. If he failed to cultivate the heavenly demonic power, he could only think about the Emperor. He stood under the moonlight and stared at the night sky. He felt lost. What was Seo Chi doing now? Was she cultivating hard? Had she forgotten about him? Would he occasionally appear in her mind? When she thought of him, would her heart not be disturbed? So what if they met again? When would his path of pursuit come to an end? Would he fall on the path of pursuit? Would he not even see Seo Chi in the end? As he thought about this, he activated the heavenly demonic power and moved slowly under the moonlight. He suddenly frowned and turned to look to the east. Under the moonlight, 3 people floated over like 3 wisps of gray smoke. In the blink of an eye, they floated in front of Chuli. The 3 elders looked gloomy as they stared at him coldly. The skinny elder in the middle scoffed. Where's the second lady? Chapter 288. P.S. Here's today's update. And at the same time, pull some votes for Chidian's 515 Fan Day. Everyone has 8 votes, and the votes will be rewarded with coins. I beg for everyone's support and appreciation. P.S. The third Guildmaster has been born, Guildmaster V1 Goss. P.S. Although the monthly votes did not reach 5,000, there are still 6 updates today. Thank you for your support. The next update will be at 13. In the morning, Gentle Bandit would give out a big red packet and a single chapter explanation. Chuli looked at the 3 of them and asked, "Who are the 3 of you?" Chuli, right? The red-haired elder in the middle said in a deep voice, "You don't need to know our identities. Hand over the second miss, and it will spare your life." Chuli asked, "How did the people from the imperial residence of King and find this place?" He could see the thoughts of the other 3. Killing himself was the first priority. As for the second lady, if he saw her, he would save her. Even if he couldn't see her, it was fine as long as he killed Chuli. It seemed like Kingen saw him as a thorn in his side, and he had to get rid of him first. "Humph, why ask so many questions? Are you going to speak or not?" The red-haired old man said in a deep voice. Chuli frowned. "What does His Highness King want to do?" "Second miss is the future princess. As subordinates, we don't know much. We only know to ask second miss to return. Anyone who dares to stop us will be killed without mercy." "I see." Chuli nodded. It seemed like they did not know that he was a grandmaster. Previously, when facing Lu Dongchu's provocation, he had been restraining himself from making a move, all in order to conceal this fact. And now, it was proving to be of use. However, after this, Kingen would know. The 3 of them received orders to find him in this area and kill him. As for how they found him, they didn't know either. They were just following orders. "Where is the second miss?" The red-haired old man was a little impatient. "Don't play tricks. Don't force us to kill you." Chuli smiled. "I don't know where the second lady is either." None of them were fools, even if he looked like a harmless innate realm expert. The red-haired old man was still trying to numb him and break his will to fight to the death. It seemed that they only wanted to find the second miss, so they wouldn't kill him. Get a confession out of him. The red-haired old man frowned and said, "We don't dare to kill second miss, but it's not a problem for you. Do it." The 3 of them punched out. Chuli waved his hands, and 2 rays of light flashed. Chi! Chi! With a light whistling sound, the 2 flying knives instantly pierced through the 2 old men. The distance was too close. The flying dagger was also too fast. Just as the 2 of them were about to dodge, they happened to be channeling their internal energy into their fists and throwing them outwards. They were at the most critical moment, when the old force had dissipated and the new force could not be generated. Chuli saw through this with the omniscient mirror and hit the target with 1 strike. The 2 of them clutched their chests. Their eyes widened in disbelief as they slowly fell down. Now that Chuli was a grandmaster, the power of his flying blades was getting more and more terrifying. They could not defend against it. His heart was pierced by a knife, and all the strength in his body leaked out from his heart. They hurriedly took out pills from their robes and threw them into their mouths. "Brat, you dare!" The red-haired old man was enraged. With a roar, he fiercely pushed out his palm, and the palm energy crashed towards him like a raging wave. Chuli took a step to the side to avoid it. The art of infinite azure sea was converted into the scripture of duality. Spiritual chi surged in from all directions. He channeled the scripture of duality like a galloping horse. His white robe fluttered even though there was no wind. It was as if he was standing in a gale. Bang! The red-haired elder's palm struck the stone table. Bang! The stone table flew out. It crashed into the wall, and a huge hole was formed. The wall shook, and the sound was especially loud in the night sky. Yang Baoshu was thinking. He tossed and turned, and when he heard the commotion, he quickly climbed up the ladder and peeked out. The moonlight was like water, and he could see clearly. There were 2 people lying on the ground, and it was unknown whether they were dead or alive. A red-haired elder struck out his palm. Wherever the palm energy passed, the soil flew, and the sand and stones rolled. It was a shocking sight. This must be the legendary Grandmaster. Yang Baoshu's eyes widened as he saw Mr. Chu's white robe fluttering in the wind. He easily avoided the palm energy, and his white robe was spotless. He lightly struck out with his fist. The red-haired elder roared and pushed his palm forward. His roar was like thunder. Young Baoshu's ears were ringing, and he quickly covered them. He knew that it was dangerous, and he should not watch from here. The wisest thing to do was to retreat and stay in the house. However, a strong urge drove him, and he did not move. If he wanted to live like Mr. Chu, then he would have to see how capable Mr. Chu was and how far he could go. Bang! A muffled sound was heard, and the red-haired elder groaned as he staggered backward. Chu Li's light punch was learned from High Duke Liu, and its power was shocking. The red-haired elder stared with his eyes wide open and roared, "Chu Li, come again." He pushed out another palm, and Chu Li punched again. Bang! The red-haired elder's body flew out, and he crashed into the house. Chu Li scoffed. This red-haired elder was a cunning fellow. He followed the punch into the house and wanted to capture Co Shi. Unfortunately, he did not expect Co Shi to not be in the courtyard. She was his bodyguard, and he wanted to live in the same house. It was rare for Chu Li to have two courtyards, and the red-haired elder did not expect it. "Let's go." The red-haired elder quickly looked around the house and walked out of the window in disappointment. He thought that by kidnapping Second Lady Co, Chu Li would be helpless, but he did not expect him to be a grandmaster. What a miscalculation. He could not win, so he had to resort to this method. Unfortunately, Second Lady Co was not here. He dashed towards the two elders like the wind, picked them up with each hand, and ran. In a blink of an eye, he flew diagonally up the wall. He pushed his light body technique to its limit and wanted to escape from Chu Li's threat as soon as possible. Tisk! A cold light flashed. The flying blade pierced through the red-haired elder's chest, and the force was reduced by half. It fell powerlessly into Yang Bao's academy. Yang Baoshu was shocked, and he did not dare to move. Bang! The fist force hit the red-haired elder's back. His body stopped in the air, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. His body became weak, and like a kite with a broken string, he fell straight down from the sky. Bang! Yang Baoshu's courtyard shook, and the three of them fell into the middle of the courtyard. Yang Baoshu stood on the ladder, and his expression changed. Madame Zhou shouted from inside the house. "Who is it?" "Mother, it's me I'm cultivating." Yang Baoshu had an idea and quickly shouted. Chu Li's white robe fluttered, and he landed in front of the three elders. The red-haired elder was stuffing a red pill into his mouth, and he glared at Chu Li fiercely. The other two elders who were stabbed in the chest fell to the ground, and they stared coldly at Chu Li. They had consumed a life-saving pill, and it was a spirit medicine similar to the spirit blessing pill. Chu Li looked down and sighed. "You guys are unlucky." He slapped the three of them with his palm. "Chu Li, you've angered King, and you'll die a horrible death." The red-haired elder was furious, and he spat out blood as he glared at Chu Li. Chu Li smiled and waved his hand. "You don't have to worry about whether I'll die a horrible death or not. The three of us will walk together on the road to hell, and it won't be lonely. I won't be sending you off. You—" The three of them glared at him with hatred, and they breathed their last. Yang Baoshu's body froze, and he did not move. Seeing Chu Li transform into a grandmaster and killing people while talking and laughing, his previous image of a gentle Tunton collapsed, and he was in disbelief. When he saw Chu Li looking at him, he quickly squeezed out a stiff smile. Chu Li smiled, and he carried the three corpses away. Yang Baoshu felt his heart beating faster when he smiled, and it almost jumped out his chest. Once he left, Yang Baoshu's body went limp, and he fell to the ground with a thud. "Bastard, what are you doing now? Why aren't you sleeping in the middle of the night? What are you doing?" Madame Zhou shouted as she opened the bedroom window. Yang Baoshu quickly waved his hand. All right, I'm going to sleep." "Mother, you should sleep too." "What a bastard." Madame Zhou glared at him, closed the window, and went back to sleep. Yang Baoshu's heart was in a mess, and he wanted to go back to sleep, but he could not suppress his curiosity. He slowly climbed up the wall and looked towards Chu Li's courtyard. Chu Li had returned, and he was standing in the courtyard with his hands behind his back, quietly looking at him. Yang Baoshu was shocked. Chu Li waved his hand. "Come here." Yang Baoshu was stunned, and he quickly climbed up the wall. He had thought it through, and no matter what, Mr. Chu would not kill him. He built a ladder and went down the wall and stood in front of Chu Li. Chu Li said, "I'm leaving." "Ah, Mr. Chu is leaving?" Yang Baoshu panicked. Chapter 289. P.S. Here's today's update. And, at the same time, pull some votes for Chidian's 515 Fan Day. Everyone has 8 votes, and the votes will be rewarded with coins. P.S. The next update will be at 14 o'clock. The Alliance leader sent a few red packets, and so did everyone else. The group is about to explode. "Ah, Mr. Chu is leaving?" Yang Baoshu panicked. A Grandmaster was a legendary figure. The most powerful person in Qingyun Town was only an innate master, and the difference between an innate master and a Grandmaster was like heaven and earth, yet he was already so powerful. If he could learn from Grandmaster, he would definitely be stronger than the association leader in the future. He was going to miss out on such a master. Chu Li smiled. "My enemies are here. I have no choice but to leave." "But weren't they killed?" Yang Baoshu quickly asked. He shuddered as he thought about it. He had never killed anyone since he was young. Although he was in the association, it was just a fight, and at most he would be heavily injured. Seeing Chu Li kill people without a change in his expression made him nervous. Chu Li said, "Do you think my enemies are the 3 of them?" "No," Yang Baoshu replied. Chu Li smiled and shook his head. "They were sent by my enemies." "Sent 3 Grandmasters?" Yang Baoshu did not know what expression he should have, and whether he should comfort him or not. Chu Li said, "The less you know about this, the better. What do you plan to do?" "I don't know." Yang Baoshu was at a loss. He had set his ambition, but after seeing what happened today, he felt that his ambition was too far. There was not a single Grandmaster in the entire Qingyun town. No matter how much he claimed to be a genius, he did not dare to say that he would definitely become a Grandmaster. Chu Li said, "The agile monkey fist passed down in your family is quite amazing. If you continue to train, you'll have a bright future." Yang Baoshu nodded lightly. The agile monkey fist was amazing, but it would not be able to become a Grandmaster. Chu Li said, "I've been studying your agile monkey fist for the past few days, and I've learned something. The agile monkey fist actually hides a heart technique." Yang Baoshu was stunned. The heart technique of inner energy had always been a sore point for him. He did not have the money to find a master, so he could only cultivate the most basic heart technique in the association, but its power was too weak. It was likely that he would not be able to reach the innate realm in this generation. Chu Li said, "Sit down and don't move. Just practice the agile monkey fist in your head. Start from the last form and practice it all the way to the previous form. Even if it's a cycle, it's useless to start from the first style. You have to do it the other way around. Let's go back and try." "Is that even possible?" Yang Baoshu was surprised. Chu Li smiled. "Don't underestimate this agile monkey fist. Your future lies in it." He waved his hand and said, "Go." Yang Baoshu was so excited that he wanted to go back and try it out. However, just as he turned around, he stopped. "Mr. Chu, will we meet again in the future?" Chu Li said, "If you have any difficulties in the future, and if you encounter any obstacles that you can't overcome, you can look for me at the E-Public House." "The E-Public House?" Yang Baoshu's eyes widened. Chu Li smiled and nodded. "Go ahead." Yang Baoshu was so shocked that he slowly climbed up the ladder, forgetting to put the ladder on the other side. Pong! He fell to the ground after stepping on air. He patted his clothes nonchalantly, entered the room, and laid down on the Kong bed. No matter what, he did not expect Mr. Chu to be from the E-Public House, the public house that was hated and envied by the martial arts world. No wonder Mr. Chu was so rich. It was said that the people from the public house were never short of money. They had so much money that they could never finish spending it. Every one of them wore luxurious clothes and ate luxurious food. Their eyes were filled with beautiful ladies, and their wives were all beauties. No wonder he had a beauty like Madame Chu. Sigh. He sighed with melancholy and disappointment. Such a beauty was standing in front of him. He did not have a right to talk to her. As he thought about it, he remembered Chu Li's fluttering white robe and the scene of him killing people while talking. He sat up immediately. He crossed his legs and started to think about the agile monkey fist. First, he practiced from the beginning to the end. He did not feel anything. Then he started from the last form to the first form. After practicing once, there was a weak force in his body. His spirit was lifted. Mr. Chu did not lie to him. The agile monkey fist really hid the heart technique of inner energy. Chu Li disappeared in a flash and appeared in Co. Shi's courtyard. Co. Shi and Yang Su were already hiding in the cellar. He only spent 2 days to dig the cellar. He came to Co. Shi's bedroom, lifted the blanket, and knocked on the Kong bed. "It's me." Yang Su pushed the mat from the inside and revealed herself. When she saw it was Chu Li, she let out a sigh of relief and walked out. Co. Shi followed and frowned at Chu Li. "Is it King In or the Rin Kingdom Public House?" "King In," Chu Li said. "How did they find us?" Co. Shi patted her clothes and said in confusion, "I don't think they exposed our whereabouts." "Did you attract suspicion outside?" Chu Li waved his hand. He used the omniscient mirror every time he went out. There was no one suspicious around him. "Could it be someone from the public house?" Co. Shi asked. "They almost never left the house. It was impossible to be recognized." Chu Li shook his head. The only person in the public house who knew he was here was Jiang Kuai. Jiang Kuai was not a problem. "No matter what, we will leave today," Chu Li said. "Let's find an inn to stay for a few days and see if they can find us." He concluded that Jiang Kuai was not a problem, but he had to find a way to eliminate it. He decided to find an inn. "All right," Co. Shi said. She turned to look at the extremely simple house. Other than a Kong bed, a table, and a stool, there was almost nothing else. It was comfortable for her. She did not feel uncomfortable, as she said. The narrow house was warm, even though it was simple. The peaceful environment made her feel at peace. She was lazy and did not think about anything. Her days were relaxed, even more relaxed than when she was in the public house. Chu Li smiled. "Can't bear to leave?" Co. Shi shook her head lightly. Chu Li said, "I can come back and stay occasionally." "You lied to me again." Co. Shi shook her head. "If I enter the imperial residence of King An or get killed, no matter what, I can't come back." Chu Li smiled. "Don't worry, no one can kill you. Once you enter the imperial residence of King An, no one can control you." Co. Shi glanced at him and sighed. The 3 of them packed their bags and left Qinyan town. He ran to Danzhou town, which was 2,000 miles away. Danzhou town was about the same size as Qinyan town, but it was more prosperous. It was located by the East Sea. There was an endless flow of people coming and going, making the place particularly lively and prosperous. Chu Li brought the 2 ladies to the biggest inn in Danzhou town, Sea Protection Inn. They asked for a small courtyard to stay in. Chu Li looked around as he ran. There was no trace of anyone. He should not be able to find them this time. He had learned his lesson. This time, he wore a hat and secretly changed his appearance. Even if others could see him under the hat, they would not be able to recognize him. For the past 3 days, he had been cultivating the heavenly demonic power. The heavenly demonic power had reached a bottleneck and was about to break through to the 2nd level. Once he reached the 2nd level, he would be able to transform once more. There should be other benefits. 3 days passed peacefully, but Chu Li felt uneasy. He felt that danger was approaching. He told Co. Shi to change locations. Co. Shi did not object, so the 3 of them left Danzhou town and went south along the seaside to Meng State. They stayed in Meng State for a few more days before changing locations and returning to Danzhou town. This time, Chu Li could conclude that the problem was not with Jiang Kuai, nor was it with the High Duke's public house, nor was it with him. In a small courtyard of Sea Protection Inn in Danzhou town. At noon, the 3 of them sat in a gazebo and chatted. The sun was shining brightly outside. It was a good day. Chu Li's face was solemn. His mood was not so bright. "Second lady, do you know of any special skills that can search for traces?" Chu Li took a sip of tea and stared at Co. Shi's face. Co. Shi thought for a while. "Special skills? From what I know, The most powerful is the all-seeing divine power from the titanium temple. Chapter 290. P.S. Here's today's update. And, at the same time, pull some votes for Chidian's 515 Fan Day. Everyone has 8 votes, and the votes will be rewarded with coins. I beg for everyone's support and appreciation. Chu Li's expression changed. The Titanium Temple, the Tempest Temple, the Titanium Temple, the Amethyst Mountain, and the Green Deer Cliff were the 4 great sections. The Titanium Temple was one of them. It was obvious that they were not to be trifled with. The Tempest Temple is in the east, and the Titanium Temple is in the west. The disciples of the Tempest Temple are everywhere in the world, and they have countless devotees. The Titanium Temple, on the other hand, is in seclusion. They have very few disciples and rarely get involved in worldly affairs. Co. Sure said, however, the Titanium Temple is on par with the Tempest Temple. Naturally, we shouldn't underestimate them. Instead, we should be more careful. The Titanium Temple is extremely strict in recruiting disciples. Every disciple that enters the temple is a genius. Out of the Titanium Temple's 8 major supernatural powers, a disciple must cultivate at least one of them before he can leave the temple and step into the secular world. 8 great divine powers? Chu Li frowned and thought about it. Could it be the Heaven's Eye connection or the mind connection? That's it. Xiao Shi nodded. Chu Li inhaled sharply. Did they cultivate the scripture of the wisdom's root? The Buddhist scripture of Autumn Temple. Co. Shi smiled and said, only the Temple of Autumn has the scripture of wisdom's origin. Even if you give it to them, they won't cultivate it. It's too dangerous, and they won't be able to cultivate it. Aren't you a disciple of the Temple of Autumn? You don't know about this? Chu Li asked, does the Titanium Temple have a scripture of wisdom's origin? Only the Temple of Autumn has it. Has anyone from the Temple of Autumn mastered the scripture of wisdom's root? Co. Shi asked. Chu Li shook his head. Xiao Shi said, that's it. The Titanium Temple and the Tempest Temple, their divine powers have all been cultivated by their predecessors. There's experience to follow, and it's reliable and can be cultivated. The scripture of wisdom's origin. The scripture of wisdom's origin is only a legend. No one has ever cultivated the divine power. Everyone thinks it's a fake scripture. It's not suitable for training. Chu Li nodded slowly. Co. Shi continued. Moreover, in the cultivation of divine powers, confidence is extremely important. Faith is the first of the 4 mindsets of Buddhism. Otherwise, the divine ability won't work. In that case, someone has mastered the all-seeing divine power and found us. Chu Li pondered and said, the all-seeing divine power will need something to assist it, right? It's impossible to see whoever you want. Using my blood as a guide. Co. Shi said, they should have my hair. How troublesome. Chu Li frowned. If that's the case, it's impossible to shake them off. Then we'll just run around randomly. Co. Shi smiled. We're always ahead of them, and they're always following behind us. They won't be able to catch up with us in a short time. Chu Li shook his head and muttered, is there any way to restrain this divine power? There is no such thing as an invincible technique in the world. Nothing was perfect and flawless. Take his omniscient mirror, for example. It was full of wonders, but if it were not for the fact that he had lived 2 lives and his soul energy was twice that of an ordinary person, he would not have been able to cultivate it. He would not appear in the world. No matter how powerful the all-seeing divine ability was, it was not omnipotent. Co. Shi shook her head. Chu Li asked, if the distance is far enough, will you be able to sense it? I don't know. Chu Li sighed. Looks like I can only snatch your hair back or kill the person who cast the spell. Killing the caster was just a bad idea. After all, there was more than one disciple in the Titanium Temple. Retrieving the hair was the key. However, his solemn expression was not because of the all-seeing divine power, but because of the Titanium Temple. Was the Titanium Temple aiding King In? Was there only one disciple from the Titanium Temple who was aiding King In? Or was it the Titanium Temple? Was the Titanium Temple betting? Logically, The four major sects did not need to care about who the emperor was. No matter who it was, the four major sects would pass down their legacy. There were ups and downs, but the legacy would not be broken, because they had a strong enough foundation. Feng Huang Mountain, the Titanium Temple. Chu Li sighed. King En's influence was not only in the imperial residence of King En, but also in the martial arts world. He could not underestimate King En. After all, he was the prince of country. Once he gave an order, countless people would follow. Let's leave tonight, Chu Li said. I want to see if the all-seeing divine ability can be found. His light body technique was extremely fast, and his inner energy was endless. He supported himself to run without stopping. His speed was shocking, and no one could compare to him. He continued to run, running from the east to the west in one breath. After crossing 10,000 miles, he arrived at the border with the Fu Dynasty horse racing town. The customs of horse racing town were different from those of the Ji Dynasty. The people dressed openly, especially the women. They were not as conservative as the Ji Dynasty. Everyone wore a tube top and a skirt over it, revealing their snow-white cleavage. When they walked, their meatballs trembled, making one's heart flutter. The women here were also more cheerful. They spoke loudly and laughed without restraint. They did not care about the beauty of being reserved. Chu Li smiled. The atmosphere here was not inferior to the world he reincarnated from. It was an eye-opener. Xiao Shi and Yang Su kept frowning. The two women were dressed very conspicuously. It was obvious that they were not from horse racing town. Chu Li found an inn to stay. He wanted to stay for a few days to see if they could find her. This was just a test. No matter how far they ran, they would have to return to the fairy's capital a few days before the wedding. At that time, once the all-seeing divine ability was used, Xiao Shi would have nowhere to hide. Everything would be in vain. The most fundamental way was to find her hair. But to find her hair, he could not bring the two of them. He might not even succeed alone, let alone bringing two burdens. He wanted to hide them first, then go alone. But if he could not hide, then he could not leave. The inn's courtyard was brightly lit. There was a stove in the pavilion. The three of them sat around the stove. The weather here was strange. The day was as hot as summer, and the night was as cold as winter. Chu Li was not affected by the heat or cold. He was still dressed in a white robe. The two women wore cotton clothes and leaned close to the stove. I don't know if the formation can block the all-seeing divine ability. Chu Li took a sip of tea and grinned. The tea had an earthy taste. It was really disgusting. His omniscient mirror sometimes could not see through some formations. For example, Taihua Valley's formation and Rising Sun Mountain's formation could block his omniscient mirror. The omniscient mirror could only see 5 miles away, but the all-seeing divine ability could see 1,000 miles away. The formation might not be able to block it. Xiao Shi frowned and shook her head. There are not many people who knew about formations. The monks from the Titanium Temple rarely left the temple. She had never seen them go against a formation master. Then let's try, Chu Li said. I wonder who they will send to track us. Let's try, Xiao Shi said lightly. It's not a big deal. If you ask me, just kill me. Let's see what they will chase after. Chu Li glared at her. Xiao Shi said, living is really boring. Chu Li smiled. In the future, when you meet a man you like, you will find it interesting. He also felt that Xiao Shi was very pitiful. Since she was born, she had never had a good day. Now that her body was finally healed, she had to endure all this. Oh, Xiao Shi smiled faintly. Like you? I see that you are depressed. You don't look interesting at all. When Chu Li returned from Snow Lunar Pavilion, he was like a different person. He did not have a sharp edge he used to have. He was reserved and depressed. It was as if his heart was constantly repressed and could explode at any time. It was earth-shattering. Chu Li shook his head. I am different. After being tormented by my sister, you still like me? Chu Li coughed lightly and lowered his head to drink his tea. Love was a magical thing. Even if he had the divine ability and could make his mind as calm as water, reflecting all things, he still could not win against love. No matter how smart he was, he would still become stupid. There was nothing he could do. Liking was liking, there was no way to not like it. He analyzed it calmly. Maybe it was because he could not get it that he felt it was better and could not forget it. Chapter 291. P.S. Here's today's update. And, at the same time, pull some votes for Chidian's 515 Fan Day. Everyone has 8 votes, and the votes will be rewarded with coins. I beg for everyone's support and appreciation. The 3 of them toured around Horse Racing City for 3 days. In these 3 days, Chuli set up a formation on a mountain outside of Horse Racing Town, the reversal of heaven and earth formation. This formation could confuse the heavenly oracle and cause people to lose their minds. Those who were trapped in the formation would go mad and die. His omniscient mirror could not see the situation inside the formation from the outside. 3 days later, late at night, the bright moon hung high in the sky, its silvery splendor sprinkling down. Chuli suddenly got up and glided to the bedroom opposite and knocked on the door gently. "Who?" Yang-Su's voice rang out. Chuli said, "I'll wake the lady up. We'll leave immediately." "Chief, please wait a moment," Yang-Su replied. The sound of clothes rustling could be heard. Chuli withdrew the omniscient mirror and urged, "Quick, quick, don't rush on. Have they found their way here?" CEO Shi's slightly hoarse voice was heard. Chuli said, "It should be soon. I have a bad feeling about this. It's better to prepare in advance." Xiaoshi lifted the curtains and came out. She had changed into a clean white robe, which was spotless and pure. Yang-Su also came out. She was wearing a plain, floral gown. "Chief, what should we do?" Chuli smiled. "We'll leave when they arrive. Just leave it to me." Seeing his smile, Yang-Su felt more at ease. She wasn't afraid of death, but she was afraid that if she died, her son, Zhu Quan, would have no one to take care of him. It would be too pitiful and tragic for him to grow up alone. Xiaoshi said, "Chuli, let Yang-Su go first." Chuli raised his eyebrows. Xiaoshi said snappily, "I know you brought Yang-Su along to avoid arousing suspicion, but look at the situation we're in now. How can you care about that? You're one person in each hand. What if we really meet an enemy? Can you split your hands to fight?" Chuli sighed. "I'm clumsy. How can you not have anyone to serve you? I don't need to be waited on. I have my own hands and feet." Xiaoshi said, "What do you think I don't know?" When she was in the House of High Dukes, sometimes she would rather do things on her own than find maids because they were all clumsy. Just looking at it made him annoyed. Yang-Su hurriedly said, "Miss, I think it's better if I follow you. It's really inconvenient to be alone." "I won't starve to death, don't worry." Xiaoshi said, "The key is that you're a burden. How could carrying one person be as fast as carrying 2 people? Was that right? There's a shop here in the mansion. You can stay in the shop for a while. After you have settled down, you can go back." But Yang-Su hesitated. Chuli knew that Yang-Su was thinking about her son. He sighed. "I'll send someone to pick you up." "Yes." Yang-Su finally nodded. She curtsied gratefully at Xiaoshi. She knew that Xiaoshi had put in a lot of effort. "I'll send you off first," Chuli said. As he spoke, he picked up Yang-Su and disappeared from the house in a flash. A moment later, he appeared in a grain shop in the city. Anyone who was involved in the grain business had a powerful background, an existence that no one dared to provoke. Food was closely related to the livelihood of the people and the country. The common people and even the ordinary rich families could not touch it. Only those who were related to the highest level could manage it. Hence, it was very safe in the grain shop. It was also the grain shop of the public house. Showing the waste tag, the shopkeeper's anger dissipated and he smiled. Chuli settled Yang-Su in a few words. Looking at the shopkeeper's temperament, he was relieved. He disappeared in front of the 2 of them. The shopkeeper's expression changed again. He did not dare to be negligent anymore. Chuli appeared in front of Xiaoshi. Xiaoshi was standing on the stairs looking at the moon. Under the moonlight, Xiaoshi's face was like jade. She looked like she was carved out of white jade. She was crystal clear and flawless. Every time Chuli saw her beauty, he had to praise the miracle of creation and lament the favoritism of God. Looking up at the moon, Xiaoshi sighed. "Chuli, Do you think we can see the moon this time next year? Chuli said, don't think too much. We can see the moon next year, the year after, 10 years, 20 years, or even 100 years later. Who can live that long? Co sure smiled. Chuli said, Lady, you ate the longevity grass. You can definitely live. I'm a grandmaster. I can live too. How can you live a peaceful life with this torturous method? You'll be thankful if you can live another 8 to 10 years. Co sure said. Chuli smiled. If I don't torment myself, wouldn't I have wasted my life? They're here. He saw 2 elders coming under the moonlight. One of them was dressed in a yellow frock. His bald head was shining brighter than the moon. His left palm was in an undulate position. It was as if his arm was born that way and could not be straightened. The other elder was dressed in a linen robe. He was tall and sturdy. His face was like a silver plate, and his long white beard fluttered. Chuli frowned. Their bodies seemed to be shrouded in a layer of faint golden light. The omniscient mirror could not penetrate it. This layer of golden light was like the sentient menace. It was a spiritual-level sentient menace. Under the observation of the omniscient mirror, he could only see their outer appearance. He could not see inside. He could not see their thoughts and could not see their heart technique. Chuli was not used to this. Chuli focused his spirit on the old monk. He quickly found the source of the faint golden light. With his light body technique, he could appear in an instant and snatch the lock of hair. He would cut off the place where his divine powers could be used. Chapter 292. P.S. Here's today's update. And at the same time, poll votes for Chidian's 5/15 Fan Festival. Everyone has 8 votes, and the votes will be rewarded with coins, begging for everyone's support. Co sure whispered, if they can't find it, they'll leave. Chuli said, you have to get your hair back. 2 of them, one of you. Co sure said, since Princeton sent them, you definitely can't beat them. After killing 3 grandmasters last time, Princeton still dared to send people again, and there were only 2 of them. It was obvious that these 2 were enough to take Chuli down, especially that old monk who had the all-seeing divine power. He was an extremely important person. He could not be lost. So, it could be that the old monk was powerful, or the silver-bearded elder was powerful, or more likely, both of them were powerful, and Chuli could not beat one of them. Chuli nodded lightly. He looked carefully and found a trace of strangeness and unusualness. He smiled and shook his head. Co sure whispered, that old monk is a little strange. Don't go near him. Chuli smiled. All right, wait a minute. The old monk held the strand of hair and was deep in thought. As if his mind was elsewhere, it could be a trap. With the hair as bait and his absent-minded state to increase the temptation. If it was someone else, they would have already pounced on him. Old people who did not die were thieves. These old people could not be underestimated. Looking at the snow-bearded elder, he seemed to be impatiently pacing back and forth, looking closely at his expression. His eyes were also flickering, as if he was anxious and angry, very unwilling. Chuli's omniscient mirror could observe down to the smallest detail and could see through people's hearts. For many years, he was very clear about the relationship between people's hearts and their expressions. Even without the omniscient mirror, he could see that this elder was an experienced actor. His eyes were full of drama, enough to fool most people. He glanced at Co sure. I didn't expect Lady Co sure to have such wisdom, to be able to remain calm under such circumstances and make meticulous deductions. He was not an ordinary person. I'm bored. Reading books, pondering about things, pondering about people. Co sure said lightly. How? Is this wisdom? Chuli said. After entering the imperial residence of Princeton, Lady Co sure will need this wisdom. Let's talk when we get in. Co sure said. She felt that it would be very difficult for her to enter the imperial residence of King, and even if he went in, he would lose his life very quickly. From these 2 people, one could vaguely see Princeton's power. The House of High Dukes did not have such masters. She asked in a low voice, who is that old man? Chuli remained silent. In his mind, He searched for more than 100 grandmasters in the Ji Dynasty's martial arts world. Find someone who matches his image. His expression suddenly darkened as he muttered, "It's very likely to be Gu Yu from Phoenix Mountain." Feng Huang Mountain? Xiao Shi scoffed. Feng Huang Mountain has also submitted to King In. Most likely. Chu Li sighed. The Feng Huang Mountain was a first-rate faction that was on par with the Snow Lunar Pavilion and the Green Hill, yet they were also participating in the battle for the throne. It was conceivable that the other factions would not be able to stay out of it. The Feng Huang Mountain might not be the only faction under King In's command. Xiao Shi chuckled. For the sake of a weak woman like me, King In has mobilized too many people. This is related to the High Duke's public house. He wouldn't dare to take it lightly, Chu Li said. As they spoke, the old monk and Gu Yu looked at each other. He slowly walked out. Chu Li still did not move. Under the observation of the omniscient mirror, the two walked for half a mile. Suddenly, they turned back and hid in a tree. Chu Li confronted them, competing in endurance. 4 hours later, Chu Li noticed that Xiao Shi had a strange expression on her face. Her body moved slightly from time to time. He turned his head to look. Xiao Shi blushed and rolled her eyes at him. Chu Li was baffled. He looked at the omniscient mirror and suddenly felt awkward. He coughed. "I'll go out and hide for a while." "Wait," Xiao Shi quickly said. "If you go out, you'll die." Chu Li said, "I have a way to return to the inn directly and lure them away. You stay here and don't move. Whatever you want to do, you can't go more than 3 meters away." He was a little annoyed. He did not think of this at the beginning. He should have set up the formation a little bigger. He set up the formation so small for 2 reasons. First, it was to save effort. Second, time was tight. There was no time to set up a formation that was too big. Xiao Shi frowned and stared at him. Chu Li smiled and waved his hand. In a flash, he disappeared in front of her. Her eyes widened. Chu Li did not appear outside. The two of them did not move either. They must have avoided them. She let out a long sigh of relief. She could not hold it in anymore. She quickly found a dense foliage and squatted down. Not long after she squatted down, a long whistle came from the direction of the horse racing town. She could tell that it was Chu Li's whistle. She understood Chu Li's intention. He wanted to lure the tiger away from the mountain. He wanted to lure them away and bring her away. He would not confront them and escape safely. Unfortunately, Chu Li's plan did not work. The two cunning fellows split up. Gu Yu from the Feng Huang Mountain stayed where she was, guarding this side. The old monk floated away. Under the moonlight, his head shone. Chu Li stood on a rooftop. He watched the old monk float over slowly. He frowned and sighed. They were not easy to deal with. "Almsgiver, are you almsgiver Chu Li?" the old monk asked with one palm. His face was kind, and his smile was peaceful. Chu Li nodded. "Very good." The old monk smiled even wider. He suddenly appeared behind him and pressed his palm on his back. Chu Li activated the omniscient mirror. He could see clearly that the old monk's figure was still in the same place. The real body was already behind him. He could see it, but he could not react in time. The old monk's movement technique was fast. It was faster than Chu Li's body's reaction speed. With a thought, the sentient menace automatically activated. Roar! A giant beast roared from the old monk's palm. Chu Li had never heard such a beast roar. His body shone with a purplish-gold light to block the skinny palm. The light dissipated instantly. The skinny palm pressed on his back. He flew for 50 meters and hit the wall on the opposite street. Bang! His body was completely stuck in the wall. He struggled to leave. The skinny palm pressed down again. Roar! The giant beast roared again. Chu Li's body shone with a purplish-gold light again. It collapsed under the skinny palm again. He was hit into the wall. A large hole appeared in the wall. The outline of the hole was the outline of Chu Li's body. The palm energy poured into his back. The wall in front of him was squeezed. Chu Li's face and hands were badly mutilated. His bones were faintly visible. He looked at his body with the omniscient mirror and let out a sigh of relief. The white robe on his body was unscathed. It withstood the fierce palm energy and protected his body from being scratched by the wall. He did not care about anything else. He endured the pain in his internal organs and disappeared. He appeared a mile away. Ugh! He spat out a mouthful of blood. His body went limp, and he sat on the ground. He wanted to sleep. Weakness continued to devour him. It was as if he fell into the sea. The water was cold. Not only did the coldness not wake him up, it made him drowsy. It wanted to consume him along with his weakness. He resisted the sleepiness and coldness. He let the spiritual energy from all directions rush in. Almsgiver Chu, the old monk, suddenly appeared. It was as if he was imminent skyline. He appeared in front of him in an instant. The shadow in front of him was still there. His real body appeared behind him. Chu Li was prepared when he appeared. He had already activated imminent skyline. Roar! A giant beast roared from the old monk's palm. It was as if there was a giant beast hidden in the skinny palm. The palm hit empty air. The old monk's smile became wider and more serene. He disappeared on the spot. Chu Li appeared in a forest in a flash. His body shot out like lightning. The spiritual energy from all directions nourished his split body. The other half drove the imminent skyline to escape the old monk's pursuit. Almsgiver Chu. The old monk appeared behind him again. Chu Li activated the omniscient mirror. When there was a slight fluctuation in the space, he swung his hand. A cold light shot towards the old monk's throat. He gathered all the energy in his body into this attack. P.S. Thank you, whitest man in the world, for your recommendation. I'm a bookworm after my rebirth. I'm so envious. Chapter 293. P.S. Here's today's update. And, at the same time, poll votes for Chidian's 5/15 Fan Festival. Everyone has 8 votes, and the votes will be rewarded with coins. Begging for everyone's support and appreciation. The cold lightning reached the old monk's throat in an instant. Woo! The old monk raised his skinny right palm and let out a beastly roar. The exquisite flying blade floated half a foot in front of his palm, gently vibrating as if it was alive, trying to break free and rush forward. The skinny right palm pressed down lightly, and the flying blade fell to the ground. He looked down at the flying blade and shook his head. Chu Li glided away. The spiritual force from all directions surged toward him, nourishing his body. His figure suddenly disappeared in the midst of his swift movement. The old monk was not in a hurry. He waited for Chu Li to disappear for a while. When he appeared 20 miles away, he disappeared from the spot and appeared behind Chu Li. Chu Li's hands and face were badly mutilated, and his bones were ghastly. They had already solidified and stopped bleeding, but it was terrifying. A burning pain came from his hands and face. The pain was excruciating. His internal organs felt like they were being twisted by knives and burned by fire. The old monk's palm force was like lava rolling in his body, hurting his body continuously. He used the spiritual energy of the plants to nourish and repair. One destroyed, the other repaired. But the destruction was easier and faster than the repair. His body was constantly weakening, and he could fall at any time. He used all his potential, multitasking, controlling the spiritual energy of the plants, activating imminent skyline, and activating the sentient menace at the same time. The sentient menace had a unique strengthening effect on the flesh. The energy between the muscles was circulating, repairing the damaged internal organs. He ran with all his might, no longer thinking of counterattacking. Against the old monk from the Titanium Temple, his only advantage was the life and death scripture. His inner energy would never dry up. Other than that, he had no other advantage. The old monk suppressed him in all aspects. The Eternity Blade could not hurt him, and imminent skyline had no advantage in front of him. Chu Li guessed that the old monk had not only cultivated the all-seeing divine power, he might have also cultivated God's limbs, or else he would not have such a strange body technique that was on par with imminent skyline. Imminent skyline was a strange technique passed down from ancient times. It was another set of martial arts system. Looking at it now, it was similar to a divine power. It could break through space and was far beyond the light body technique. He had thought that no one could compare to so close, yet worlds apart. From the looks of it now, the limb of God was not inferior to him. The world was really full of wonders, and there was always a higher mountain. The Titanium Temple was indeed one of the four major sects in the world. The old monk appeared behind him. What the old monk saw was only his shadow. Chuli had experience dealing with it. He activated the omniscient mirror. Once he felt a fluctuation in the space, he immediately used the imminent skyline. He had mastered so close, yet worlds apart, so he had a deep understanding of space. They were also the most sensitive. The old monk's white brows twitched slightly as he stopped where he was. The divine limbs consumed a lot of inner energy. Even though his inner energy was as deep as the sea, he couldn't withstand the astonishing consumption of the divine limbs. He couldn't use it more than a few times. His white eyebrows drooped, and he shook his head with a smile. It was no wonder that King valued Chuli so much that he sent Guyu and himself here together. He rarely left the temple and ventured into the mortal world. The few times he did, the few people he met were all top-notch experts with the god's feet. He had never needed to use the god's feet a second time, but today was an exception. At the thought of this, he executed his god's limbs again. He appeared 10 miles away, behind Chuli. What he saw was still Chu Li's shadow. He left in advance. The old monk took out a black medicine bottle and popped a pill into his mouth. In the blink of an eye, a turbulent energy flowed into his body. If it was someone else who suffered such heavy injuries, they would have died a long time ago. This Chu Li was still running happily. There was something special about him. He was difficult to deal with. Chu Li ran with all his might. He was in a sorry state. His hands and face were badly mutilated. He healed his injuries as he ran. The healing effect of spiritual energy was great, but the old monk's palm energy was even more powerful. His injuries kept worsening. He thought quickly. In the end, he couldn't care less about the burden on his meridians and activated the infinite Azure Sea. Layer by layer, the inner energy was compressed and became purer. The pressure on his meridians was getting stronger and stronger. He could collapse at any time and lose his martial arts. He spat out a black arrow of blood as he ran. He didn't stop running. He was like a gust of wind passing through the treetops and mountains. The inner energy that was stacked 6 times collided with the old monk's inner energy. It shook a little and expelled a little. His meridians were damaged. The turbulent spiritual energy activated the minute pulse cleansing technique and the sentient menace. The two stacked together and quickly healed his meridians. He activated the infinite Azure Sea again and stacked 6 times. Then, he collided with the old monk's inner energy. The cycle repeated. His meridians healed again and again. Unknowingly, they became stronger and thicker. He ran from night to night without stopping. He didn't eat or drink. He thought that no matter how powerful the old monk was, he couldn't keep chasing him. He had to rest. Chuli suddenly stopped in a forest. His eyes were bright. He thought to himself, "Heaven has not forsaken me. A path of survival has appeared." This forest grew very well. It could be said to be heaven's will. It vaguely matched a formation. He only needed to move 3 trees, and the formation would be completed. He pulled out the modesty sword. He touched the blade and sighed. This was a critical time. If he couldn't complete the formation, he would lose his life. He could only let it go. The modesty sword acted as a shovel. Soon, 3 trees and 3 pits were dug. After the trees were moved, spiritual energy surged into the trees. Not only did the 3 trees not lose their vitality, but they also became stronger. The formation was completed. A vast amount of energy came from the sky and landed on the formation. The formation began to operate slowly, continuously absorbing the energy from the sky. Chuli smiled. This was a soul separation formation. It was enough for the old monk. He rested quietly for a while, waiting for the old monk to enter. The omniscient mirror was activated to its limit. It sensed the fluctuations in the space. He suddenly moved and took a step. It was just when the old monk appeared. The timing was perfect. An electric light flashed on his waist, and a tree was cut. The original life gate became the death gate. He took 3 steps to the left and 7 steps to the right. He took a 90-degree turn to the left and another 3 steps to the right. He slowly walked out of the soul separation formation. Inside the formation, only the life gate could perform imminent skyline. The other positions could not. He stood outside the formation. His body was tense. The omniscient mirror was activated to its limit. He would escape at the slightest fluctuation in the space. But after a while, there was no movement from the old monk. He could not see the situation inside the formation. The old monk could not see him either. Once the formation was activated, the area would be the area of the formation. Other forces could not enter. He concluded that if the formation could trap imminent skyline, it could also trap God's limbs. He turned around and sprinted back. C.O. Sure was still trapped in the formation outside Horse Racing Town. It would take him 2 days and 2 nights to go back. He did not know how C.O. Sure was. The old monk stood motionless. His white eyebrows were knitted together. The surrounding fog was solid. He could not see a meter away from his feet. He felt for a while and knew that he was in big trouble. This was a formation that could restrain God's limbs. This Chu Li was a formation master. Chu Li, if he had activated the formation earlier, he would not have been able to come over. But he took the risk and waited for him to come over before activating it, trapping him in the formation. He sat cross-legged on the ground. He took the Sarira beads off his wrist. His right hand moved slowly. He calmed his heart and thought about the formation. The Titanium Temple did not have a formation master. As far as he knew, the Tempest Temple did have a formation master. But unfortunately, this formation master did not care about worldly affairs. He was immersed in the art of formation. Even the abbot of the Tempest Temple could not let him out of the temple. It was said that there was one in the imperial palace, but no one knew who it was. He did not expect Chu Li to be a formation master. It was as if the little monk in charge of cleaning was an enlightened master. Chapter 294. P.S. Since everyone is so supportive, I can only try my best to repay them. I'll work hard today and try for 6 chapters. Chu Li used imminent skyline and suddenly stopped by a small river. He bent down to wash the blood off his hands and face, showing signs of recovery. He touched his face and shook his head. With the protection of the sentient menace and the cultivation of the art of white tiger, his body was impenetrable. He never thought that one day he would be injured so badly and in such a sorry state. Through the observation of the omniscient mirror, he saw that the wound on his face was slowly healing, leaving only a slight scar. According to his estimation, he would be back to normal in another 2 days. The strength of his body was not only in his impenetrable body, but also in his recovery speed after being injured. With the help of the spiritual energy from the plants, his recovery speed was truly shocking. After he washed his face, he walked upstream and drank a few mouthfuls of water before continuing to use imminent skyline. C.O. Sure was probably starving and thirsty and was about to faint. As he ran, he thought back to the previous fight. God's limbs was different from his imminent skyline. So close, yet worlds apart traversed through the void. Wherever his vision was, he would be able to reach it in a flash. If he could see 1 mile away, he would be able to travel 1 mile away. If he could see 2 miles away, he would be able to travel 2 miles away. If he stood on a high ground, he could teleport 10 miles away. Because of the omniscient mirror, he could observe 5 miles away. So within 5 miles, he could arrive in an instant. God's limbs was different. He did not need to see to come over. Chu Li speculated that the old monk could follow him because he sensed him with his inner energy. Otherwise, he would not be able to locate him so accurately. God's limbs and his imminent skyline were similar. The further he teleported, the more inner energy he would consume. Otherwise, he would not be able to escape and would not have the chance to set up a formation to trap him. With 2 divine powers, this old monk was truly terrifying. The all-seeing divine power and God's limbs were used together. Who could escape from his grasp? If that was the case, he would have appeared in front of C.O. Sure and himself long ago. He did not have to wait so long. It seemed like he could not use both at the same time. After some thought, Chu Li understood the reason. Both consumed a lot of inner energy and spirit. The old monk's inner energy could not support it, so he could not use both at the same time. Wah! He spat out another mouthful of blood and wiped his mouth carelessly. After a while, he had already changed his method of driving the force. After the sixth fold of the infinite Azure Sea technique, he turned in a high Duke Lu's fist force and drove it within his body. His power increased tremendously, but it was still far from the old monk's palm force. This method was even more damaging to his meridians. If his meridians had not been strengthened, he would not have dared to use High Duke Lu's fist force. In order to avoid the old monk, he had to first dissolve his internal energy. However, to dissolve such a pure and vast internal energy would take more than a few days. He did not know how many days that formation could trap the old monk. He did not know much about the Titanium Temple. However, they knew that they had a deep foundation and countless unique skills. It was not impossible for them to break the formation. Moreover, the formation was hastily set up and was not strong. But no matter what, he could still be trapped for 2 or 3 days. He had to make use of this time to set up another formation to completely trap him. Even if he could not be killed, he had to be trapped to death. When he passed by a small town, he got some water and fruits. Dried rations, braised meat, and the like were wrapped in a cloth bag and set off again. When he entered the array, Co. Shur was sitting cross-legged on the ground, motionless. Her face was pale, and her breath was weak, as if she could stop breathing at any time. Chu Li was shocked. He quickly went up to her and pressed on her back. He let out a sigh of relief. Co. Shur slowly opened her eyes that were like bottomless pools. "I thought you were going to leave me behind." Chu Li quickly passed her water bag. "I wouldn't dare." Her red lips were already white. Like a wilted flower, it was heart-wrenching to look at. Co. Shur took the water bag, but was not in a hurry to drink it. Her clear eyes scanned his face and saw the faint scars. She understood that for his face to be injured like this, he must have suffered a lot. Co. Shur took a sip of water and put it down. Was that old monk very powerful? Her self-control was strong. She ignored her body's strong desire for water and only took a sip slowly. Chu Li smiled bitterly. As expected of someone from the Titanium Temple, he has God's limbs, and his cultivation level is deep. I am far from his level. God's limbs? Co. Shur was shocked. Then how did you escape? God's limbs was also known as free will connection. It allowed one to cross space and appear anywhere in an instant. The boundless world became his back garden. He could go anywhere he wanted. There were not many in the Titanium Temple who could cultivate this divine power. Being targeted by the old monk with God's limbs, no one could escape. I trapped him with a formation. Chu Li sighed. I don't think he can hold on for long. You should rest here and don't eat too much. I'll go set up another formation. Are you hurt? Co. Shur asked. She knew. Although he said it casually, it was not as easy as he looked. Looking at the injuries on his face and his unstable breathing, his pale face, it was obvious that he was heavily injured. His injuries were not healed yet. He did not care about healing and wanted to return as soon as possible so that he would not starve and thirst. No matter how cold and indifferent her heart was, she was touched. Chu Li smiled. It's all right. Looking at her expression, he sighed helplessly. He could not say that he loved her because of his love for her. You can't hold on much longer. Heal yourself first, Co. Shur said. Chu Li said, set up a formation first. We have to do it before he breaks it, or else we won't be able to escape. All right, be careful. Co. Shur saw that he had made up his mind and knew that there was no point in trying to persuade him. She opened her bag and found a piece of dry food. She chewed it slowly without losing her elegance. Chu Li avoided Gu Yu's side and went to the other side of the mountain. The modesty sword acted as a shovel again and moved a total of 10 trees. When he moved the trees, he spat out 4 mouthfuls of blood. The old monk's palm energy was reduced by 1/10. The purity of his palm energy was even better than High Duke Lu. It was truly terrifying. Looking up at the vast power descending from the void, landing on the formation, and merging with the mountain, he was filled with a sense of accomplishment. Such a formation was powerful enough to trap the old monk for 8 to 10 days and starve him to death. The old monk sat cross-legged in the formation. He looked solemn. His right hand moved the prayer beads slower and slower. Finally, he opened his eyes and let out a long sigh. He looked helpless and lowered his head to look at the Sarira prayer beads. He was hesitant. It had been a day and a night. No matter how he planned, there was no way to escape. Sigh, please forgive me, Ancestral Master. I can only do this. He sighed and put his palms together. He mumbled to himself and chanted a mantra. His hands formed a mudra. His aura changed along with the mantra and mudra. It became more solemn and holy. Amitabha Buddha. He chanted the name of Buddha and put the Sarira prayer beads back on his left wrist. He picked up a Sarira with his right hand and gently crushed it. The Sarira turned into a 5-colored light and shot a foot above his head. It formed a 5-colored halo. It was round and shiny. It slowly descended and stood upright behind his head. A ray of light descended from the sky and landed on the old monk. The old monk's body gradually became transparent and turned into a glazed body, emitting a gentle light. Chu Li finished setting up the formation and appeared in another formation. Xiao Qi was stretching her back. She had eaten and wanted to move around, revealing her beautiful curves. Chu Li smiled. Chapter 295. The old monk slowly appeared in front of Xiao Qi, his glass-like body radiating light. He slowly raised his right hand, calmly and elegantly. He bent his index finger and gently flicked it. His solemn and holy face revealed a smile. Xiao Shi was stretching her back. Seeing the old monk, her eyes widened. She opened her mouth to speak, but the old monk flicked his finger and her heart was instantly shattered. Everything came to an abrupt stop. The world stopped in her eyes. Her eyes slowly closed and her body fell to the ground, silent. She was dead. Everything seemed slow, but it was so fast that Chu Li could not react. The old monk smiled at Chu Li again and flicked his index finger. A strange force appeared out of nowhere in Chu Li's heart. It was about to explode his heart into pieces. The heavenly demonic energy that had been hiding in his heart suddenly condensed. Like a beast pouncing, it swallowed the force in one gulp. Seeing that he killed Xiao Shi with one finger, Chu Li was furious. He wanted to go forward and chop off his smiling head. He wanted to cut him into pieces. He was furious, but he became calmer. Using the scripture of life and death, he instantly turned from glory to wither. His spiritual energy dissipated and his body fell like a dead tree. Amitabha. The old monk stood in front of Chu Li and chanted the name of Buddha. The name of Buddha was calm and peaceful. It slowly spread out in the sky. Everyone in the horse racing town heard the name of Buddha. When the name of Buddha entered their ears, their mood became calm and their restlessness disappeared. The two groups of people who were fighting outside the horse racing town suddenly stopped. The hostility in their hearts mysteriously disappeared. Suddenly, they felt that what they were doing was ridiculous. Without thinking much, they turned and left. Amitabha. The old monk chanted the name of Buddha again. When the name of Buddha entered their ears, everyone's heart became calm and peaceful. The old monk's appearance appeared in their minds. Guyi was gazing on the tree. Suddenly, he saw a ray of light shooting into the sky and heard the name of Buddha. He shouted in surprise, "Revered Sir Kong Hai." He appeared in front of the old monk like a wisp of smoke. Seeing his body like colored glass, solemn and dignified, with a halo behind his head, he widened his eyes and cried out, "Revered Sir Kong Hai." The old monk turned around and pressed his palms together. His voice was calm and peaceful. "Almsgiver Gu, I have finished my worldly affairs and will return to the temple to cultivate in isolation." Guyu looked at the two people on the ground. Kong Hai revealed a compassionate expression and said kindly, "The two almsgivers have already departed to the west. His Highness King, and can be rest assured. I shall take my leave first." "Is Venerable One about to become a Buddha?" Guyu hurriedly asked. Kong Hai sighed. "A monk doesn't lie." I'm just borrowing a strand of the power of Buddha from beyond the heavens. I'm still far from being able to achieve anything. This time, I'll be going into seclusion, hoping to achieve something in this world. Farewell." As soon as he finished speaking, he pressed his palms together and suddenly disappeared. Gu Yu's eyes widened. The scene before him made him respect the titanium temple even more. He stood there blankly for a moment before coming back to his senses. He went forward to check on Chu Li and Co Shi and smiled. Both of them were dead and their bodies were stiff. Even if they had miraculous pills, it would be useless. Even a spirit blessing pill from the public house could not save them. He stared at Co Shi. The dead Co Shi was still as beautiful as ever. Her eyes were slightly closed and her expression was serene. It was as if she had been liberated and was in no pain at all. Gu Yu sighed. As expected of the Ji dynasty's #1 beauty, he shook his head and his heart. His Royal Highness King and was too cruel. He loved his country, but not beauties. Although he could get any beauty he wanted as an emperor, it would be hard for him to meet a beauty like Co Shi who was hard to come by. For the sake of the throne, King and was willing to be ruthless. He was indeed a man who would achieve great things. However, it was Venerable One Kong Hai who did it himself. If it was him, he would not have been able to be so cruel. Sigh. Gu Yu shook his head and sighed. He could not bear to leave such a beautiful corpse in the wilderness. It was better to let her rest in peace. He slammed both of his palms, and a huge pit quickly appeared on the ground. He gently placed Co Shi in the pit. After some thought, he threw Chu Li in as well. It was considered as a meritorious deed. He pushed both of his palms back into the soil and stomped on it. He did not erect a sign and floated away. Chu Li was in a strange state. His body was like a withered tree, no different from death, but his mind was awake. The omniscient mirror was getting clearer and clearer. He saw that Kong Hai's left wrist was missing a bead. As expected, this was the power of the Saraira. Seeing that Gu Yu had gone far away, he urged the flourishing withering technique. The spiritual energy of heaven and earth surged, and the heavenly demonic energy in his chest began to circulate. It was vigorous and vast. He had unknowingly stepped into the second level. It devoured the old monk Kong Hai's finger energy and strengthened itself. It turned out that he had been cultivating the wrong way all this while. The heavenly demonic energy was strengthened by devouring. The cultivation of the heavenly demonic power was to transform the devoured heavenly demonic energy into his own and not to increase the heavenly demonic energy. He carried Co Shi out of the mud pit without a sound. It was as easy as coming out of the water. He gently placed Co Shi on the ground and wiped the mud away from her mouth and nose. He sighed, but he was not in a hurry. He was thinking about the scene where Kong Hai appeared. Kong Hai's state at that moment was too shocking. It was as if he had turned into a Buddha. The formation was forcefully broken by him. Although the power of the formation was not strong, it was shocking enough. The Tempest Temple had this kind of secret skill, and so did the Titanium Temple. They were like the Buddha that descended from the heavens, unparalleled. The heavenly demonic energy circulated in his body and devoured Kong Hai's palm energy in one breath. It then circulated one round in his body and returned to his chest. It lay dormant. The heavenly demonic energy that stepped into the second level was indeed powerful. Unfortunately, it was too weak before. Otherwise, he would not have to suffer. Without the destruction of Kong Hai's palm energy, his body's tyrannical side was fully displayed. He also consumed a spirit blessing pill. With that, he quickly recovered from his injuries. In the next moment, he arrived at the tallest restaurant in the city. There was a metal pole erected outside the restaurant. The flag was fluttering. The 3 words, Raging Sand Tower, could be seen from any place in the city. Chu Li took out 20,000 taels of silver and booked the entire restaurant. He ordered the people to move the metal pole to a position that was close to the wall within an hour. The restaurant manager hurriedly agreed. 20,000 taels of silver was enough to buy the entire restaurant. He only booked it for a few days. Of course, he made a fortune. He was excited and motivated. According to Chu Li's request, The metal pole was moved within an hour, and everyone else was dismissed. Chuli was already very familiar with the eclipse prolonged. The dark clouds quickly gathered in the sky, as if the sky had darkened. The thunder roared, frightening the people of horse racing town. First, there was the descent of the eminent monk, the Dharma of salvation. Then there was the thunder. Could it be to punish the evil? Chuli stood on the top floor and watched as C.O. Shur's shattered heart slowly recovered. He still felt that it was unbelievable. The eclipse prolonged technique was miraculous beyond imagination. To be able to recover from such an injury, it was unimaginable. Bolts of thunder were diverted away by the metal pole and could not land on him. Chuli did not dare to be careless. His body was like a dead tree. He wanted to pretend to be dead to see if he could divert the thunder punishment. Pa! A bolt of lightning bypassed the metal pole and hit the top of his head. He fell on his back and landed heavily on the floor. The heavenly demonic energy circulated desperately, swallowing the lightning. However, it was like a snake swallowing an elephant. It was difficult to swallow. The power of the thunder was purer than Kong Hai's finger energy. Chuli was not worried. As long as his spirit was not injured, he would not die with the life and death scripture. C.O. Shur slowly opened her eyes. She turned her head and looked around. She slowly sat up. She was sitting on a square table made of 2 dining tables. There was no one beside her. Where was Chuli? She turned her head and saw Chuli lying on the floor. She hurriedly reached out her hand to help him up. Her fragrant body trembled as an electric current ran through her body. She fell on the floor. Her black and thick hair straightened as if it was about to explode. Chuli let out a long sigh and sat up. The life and death scripture was indeed powerful. After a few changes, the power of the thunder was eliminated. He was resurrected from the dead. He had deceived it. Chapter 296. C.O. Shur glared at him. You still have the mood to laugh. Chuli pointed at her hair and laughed. This is too funny. C.O. Shur tidied her messy hair and said, It's all because of you. Chuli grabbed her wrist and injected a thin stream of inner energy into her hair. Her hair instantly calmed down and returned to its black and thick color. It hung on her shoulder obediently. C.O. Shur sighed. Chuli, you saved me again. Chuli nodded. Lady won't die so easily. It's been 3 times, C.O. Shur said. I owe you 3 lives. Chuli smiled, counted as 2. C.O. Shur rolled her eyes. Why don't I devote myself to you? Chuli chuckled. C.O. Shur furrowed her brows and stared at him. Chuli quickly stopped laughing and looked at her with a serious face. Am I that unattractive to you? C.O. Shur scoffed. Aren't you tempted at all when you say devote yourself to me? Chuli said, I know you like to make people happy. C.O. Shur scoffed. You're different. You've saved me 3 times. It's not a big deal for me to devote myself to you. If you ask me, let's find a quiet place to live. Don't worry about my sister. I don't care about the House of High Dukes. Just treat it like we were killed this time. The world is so big. Where can we find a place to stay? Chuli shook his head. He was very rational. As long as King An was alive, they would not be at peace. You're so boring. C.O. Shur scoffed. No wonder my sister likes you. You two are the same. Chuli said, Lady, let's go back to the formation. That old monk didn't leave? C.O. Shur frowned. Thinking about the previous scene, she felt a chill down her spine. That old monk laughed like Buddha, but he killed her without hesitation. His personality was so strange that it made people tremble. He has returned to the temple. Chuli sighed. Old monk Kong Hai seemed to have become a Buddha. She could not even withstand a single blow from him. Even enlightened master was nothing. Just thinking about it sent chills down her spine. How did you escape? C.O. Shur asked. He probably used the titanium Sarira technique from the titanium temple. He borrowed the Buddhist energy of the Sarira's owner in the Outland. He is almost invincible in this world. The owners of the relics? Chuli frowned. Could it be that the owners of these relics are still alive? You can say that he's dead, but you can also say that he's not dead. C.O. Shur thought for a while and said, These relics were left behind by the eminent monks when they passed away. These eminent monks usually came to this world with their wishes. When their wishes were fulfilled, they would leave, toss aside their mortal bodies, and return to the sky beyond heaven to continue cultivating. The Vajra temple cultivates the 10 lives of Buddhahood. They could still come back? Chuli was shocked. Could it be that his reincarnation into this world was not a special case, and there were others? Xiao replied, "Of course I can come back. I'll cultivate the 10 lifetimes of Buddhahood, and I'll only travel back and forth between this realm and the outland. I won't be reincarnated in the underworld. After cultivating for 10 lifetimes, I'll be able to reach perfection, and I'll be able to step into the Western paradise." Chuli frowned. Xiao said, "But when I came back, I was no longer the same person. The mystery in the womb can't be solved, and the past will be forgotten. Only at the moment of Buddhahood, the memories of the 10 lifetimes will be awakened. If I can let it go, I'll be able to achieve great liberation and achieve Buddhahood and enter the Western paradise." "What about the Tempest Temple?" Chuli asked. Xiao smiled. "You don't even know this? Aren't you from the Temple of Autumn?" "Master didn't tell me about this." Chuli shook his head. Xiao said, "That's true. It'll only add to my worries. Those who can become Buddhahood now are only the Tempest Temple and the Titanium Temple. The Temple of Autumn can't do anything about it." Chuli frowned. "How does the Tempest Temple become Buddhahood?" "They cultivate the instantaneous Buddhahood." Xiao said, "They don't cultivate divine powers, but a treasured raft. The body is a treasured raft to cross the sea of suffering. If they can cultivate their martial arts to the enlightened mastery's boundary, they'll be able to transform into a rainbow and achieve Buddhahood." "But the Tempest Temple has absorbed some of the Titanium Temple's cultivation techniques. Some monks also cultivate divine powers. The Titanium Temple has also absorbed some of the Tempest Temple's martial arts." "Instantaneous Buddhahood," Chuli muttered. Xiao said, "It's to become Buddhahood in this life. If you don't become Buddhahood, everything will go to waste. There'll be no reincarnation, cultivation. Once you step into the underworld, you'll be no different from a mortal." Chuli nodded slowly. The mysteries of this world were far beyond his imagination. It wasn't just about martial arts. He suddenly slapped his forehead. "Let's go into the formation first." He pulled Xiao's sleeves and entered the formation outside the city like a wisp of smoke. Xiao sat on a rock and blocked the sunlight with her hands. It was noon, and the sun was exceptionally hot. This was the horse racing town's strange weather. "Afraid that the old monk will come back. I don't think he'll come back." Chuli shook his head, "But we have to be careful. If the old monk doesn't come back, Prince and his men might. Once bitten, twice shy." Xiao pursed her lips and smiled. Chuli glared at her. Xiao smiled. "What's the use of hiding here? As long as the monks from the Titanium Temple don't go crazy and use the Titanium Sarira technique." Chuli scoffed. "Wouldn't there be one less Sarira to use?" "Of course." Xiao said. "How many do you think there are?" Chuli let out a sigh of relief. "That's good. If the Titanium Temple had a lot of Sarira, then he wouldn't have to bother. If he met them, he could just run. He wouldn't be able to defeat them." He taught Xiao the method to exit the formation and had her wait in the formation. He went to the town to buy some daily necessities and food. He decided to stay in the formation for a while. He could use this death to calm Prince down. Before the wedding, he would appear in the fairy's capital and not give him a chance to make a move. Xiao looked at the things he bought and laughed. "Are we really going to live here?" Chuli nodded seriously. "All right." Xiao looked at his serious expression and reluctantly agreed. For the next few days, Xiao stayed in the formation. Chuli set up a formation around the surroundings in an attempt to build a bigger formation. This big formation was made up of a few smaller formations. One by one, they formed into a big formation. It was considered a trick, and its power would be stronger. He hoped to be able to block the old monk Kong Hai's Titanium Sarira technique. In the evening, the sun was setting. Xiao was reading a book on a deck chair with a red glow around her. She looked relaxed and at ease. Her gaze occasionally shifted from the book to Chu Li, who was busy chopping trees. She smiled. Chu Li suddenly stopped and returned to Xiao Shi's side. Xiao Shi smiled. What is it now? Chu Li pointed to the east. Someone is coming. Is it someone from the imperial residence of Princeton again? She had a charming smile on her face. Chu Li was unromantic and nodded with a straight face. Xiao Shi frowned, and her smile froze. Is it really the imperial residence of Princeton? Chu Li said, It's an old friend. Gu Yu had a tall and burly figure. His face was like a silver plate, and his beard fluttered in the wind. He and a skinny old man in black clothing arrived at the foot of the mountain. Gu Yu pointed to the middle of the mountain and said to the skinny old man, Brother Ding, he's up there. I buried him personally. Let's go take a look. The skinny old man's face squeezed out a smile. Gu Yu shook his head disapprovingly. Your Royal Highness is too cautious. I've seen it with my own eyes and touched it with my own hands. He can't be more dead than dead. It's better to check it out. The skinny old man said, This time we'll cut off their heads. Chapter 297. P.S. If you guys don't have any more monthly votes, recommendation votes are also appreciated. Thank you very much. Brother Gu, you're already so old, but your heart is still so young. I'm impressed. The skinny elder smiled and closed fist saluted. Gu Yu waved his hand. No matter how old I am, I'm still a man. Brother Ding, you haven't seen this second lady Xiao? She's indeed the #1 beauty of the great Ji dynasty. She's so beautiful that only Lord Kong Hai could do it. If it were me, I wouldn't be able to kill her. How could it be that unbelievable? The skinny elder shook his head in disbelief. Gu Yu scoffed. Brother Ding, you have to believe me. Second Lady Xiao is a true lady from a wealthy family. Not many people have seen her. How could she be so famous? She's really beautiful. There are many beauties in the fairies' capital. Even in the imperial residence and the palace, there are beauties everywhere. But compared to Second Lady Xiao, they can't compare at all. A person's reputation is like a tree's shadow. It's definitely true. Has the Royal Highness seen Second Lady Xiao? Ding Jian asked. Gu Yu shook his head. I think he hasn't. Oh, Ding Jian asked. Why do you think so? I heard that the Royal Highness saw Second Lady Xiao when he was young. He was still a baby then. I thought about it and felt that the Royal Highness might not have seen the adult Second Lady Xiao. Otherwise, he wouldn't be so cruel. Gu Yu shook his head. The Royal Highness has great ambitions. How could he tolerate love? Ding Jian scoffed. Gu Yu shook his head. For a beauty like Second Lady Xiao, I'm willing to give up my country. Brother Gu, you're really smitten by Second Lady Xiao. Ding Jian shook his head and laughed. You'll know when you see her. Gu Yu scoffed. As they spoke, they arrived at a patch of new soil. Gu Yu pointed and sighed with some melancholy. It's here. No matter what kind of beauty she was, she would still become one in the end. Yellow soil really made people sad. Ding Jian looked at it. Let's dig it. Gu Yu pressed his palms together and mumbled. He asked Second Lady Zhao's spirit in heaven not to be offended. He was just following orders, which made Ding Jian quite disapproving. He felt that he was a coward and did not look like a grandmaster at all. I'll do it, Ding Jian said. He stretched out his hands. His skin immediately stuck to his bones. He was bony and bony like the talons of a golden eagle. His hands turned into 2 claws. Its claws dug down fiercely. The soil was as soft as tofu under his claws. In the blink of an eye, he had already dug a large pit. Ding Jian stood in the pit and dug out as he said, Brother Gu, you really dug deep. Gu Yu's expression was solemn. Ding Jian felt that something was amiss. Look up at him. Gu Yu said in a low voice, Brother Ding, he's gone. Gone? Ding Jian's expression changed slightly. Gu Yu pointed at Ding Jian's feet. I've already dug too deep. I didn't dig this deep. Where can he go? Ding Jian leaped onto the grass, and his face darkened. There's trouble. Brother Ding, are you saying that they might still be alive? Gu Yu hesitated. His heart was strangely relieved. Xiao Shi's beautiful face flashed in front of his eyes. If such a beauty could come back to life, it would be a blessing. Ding Jian asked. Someone save them? Gu Yu shook his head. I stood guard here for 2 days and 2 nights. No one came. At that time, Kong Hai the Revered One chased after Chu Li for 2 days and 2 nights. In the end, he killed 2 people here. Kong Hai the Revered One transformed into a Buddha. After killing them, Kong Hai the Revered One returned to the Titanium Temple. I buried the 2 people and examined them carefully. Their bodies were stiff. Even the spirit blessing pill couldn't save them. No one saved them. They're completely dead. How did they disappear? Ding Jian scoffed. He looked deeply at Gu Yu with suspicion. Gu Yu immediately understood his gaze. He frowned and said, Brother Ding, you suspect that I'm behind this? I don't want anything else. I just want to cut off their heads and present it to His Royal Highness. Ding Jian said, Brother Ding, you must be thinking that I saved them, right? Gu Yu said coldly. He stroked his snowy beard and squinted his eyes. I don't care about the life and death of Feng Huang Mountain. Save a dead person? All right. Brother Gu, of course I don't think so. Ding Jian squeezed out a smile. No matter how foolish you are, you wouldn't do such a thing. But where did they go? That's easy, Gu Yu said coldly. Ask the Revered One, Kong Hai, to make a move again. Use the all-seeing divine power, and we'll know. Makes sense. Ding Jian nodded. Unfortunately, Kong Hai the Revered One has already returned to the temple. Why don't we make a trip to the Titanium Temple? Let's go. Gu Yu scoffed. It's just that Kong Hai the Revered One said he's going into isolated cultivation. I'm not sure if we can get him to help. Ding Jian looked at him. His suspicions grew. Isolated cultivation? Gu Yu said. Kong Hai the Revered One had some enlightenment. He might become a Buddha. Ding Jian's smile became more and more incorporeal. That's too much of coincidence. Isolated cultivation, Let's go. We'll ask Kong Hai the Revered One. Gu Yu scoffed angrily. The 2 of them turned and left the mountainside. Co sure looked at Chu Li. We can't pretend to be dead anymore. She originally hoped that once she died, Princeton would give up and stop tormenting them. She never thought that Princeton would be so careful. He even wanted to check again. Once the matter was exposed, it meant that their peaceful days were over. Co sure asked, change the location? Chu Li shook his head. There's no rush. Are we waiting for them to find us? If the old monk comes again, we won't be so lucky, Co sure said. Chu Li smiled. The Titanium Temple was a temple on the mountainside. It was hard to imagine that such a simple and unadorned temple was one of the 4 major sects, the Titanium Temple. Gu Yu and Ding Jian came to the front of the Titanium Temple. They knocked on the tightly shut door. The color of the door faded. There were only a few pieces of red paint left. After a while, an old monk with a face full of age spots opened the door. His movements were hesitant and difficult. It made people worry if he had the strength to take the next step. Gu Yu pressed his palms together. Greetings, Revered One. We are here to pay our respects to Revered One Kong Hai. Kong Hai? The old monk's eyes were cloudy. He asked slowly, Who is Kong Hai? Gu Yu said seriously, Revered One Kong Hai just returned to the temple a few days ago. He said he wanted to go into isolated cultivation. We have important matters to attend to, so we can only disturb Revered One Kong Hai's isolated cultivation. We hope that Revered One will make things convenient for us. Oh, the old monk nodded slowly. I will go and see if there's a person named Kong Hai. Thank you, Revered One. Gu Yu pressed his palms together. The old monk closed the temple door again. His slow footsteps gradually faded away. Ding Jian looked at the Titanium Temple. He frowned at Gu Yu. Gu Yu smiled. Brother Ding, do you think we came to the wrong place? Is this really the Titanium Temple? Ding Jian asked. There were cracks on the temple's walls. It looked like it would collapse at any time. It looked like it was caused by poor management. It should have been repaired a long time ago. Gu Yu said, Brother Ding, the Titanium Temple is different from the Tempest Temple. You will know in the future. Ding Jian shook his head. I would like to see it for myself. He thought of the old monk. But isn't it too difficult to have such an old man guard the door? There must be a deeper meaning. Gu Yu said. The 2 did not see anything special about the old monk. He was just an old monk. He was not a master. After a while, the old monk opened the door and let them in. Go straight and turn left. The second room is Kong Hai's. Thank you, revered one, Guyu hurriedly said. The two entered the courtyard. Chapter 298. Both of them looked at the young novice monks. Their eyes were bright, showing their extraordinary intelligence. They came to a house pointed out by the old monk. The house was not big. The paint on the door was peeling and it was old and broken. The door gap was wide and could not block the wind at all. Just as they were about to knock, the door opened by itself. Revered Sir Kong Hai walked out and smiled. Almsgiver Gu, this almsgiver. Revered Sir, this is Brother Dingjian. Guyu bowed. We are here to ask Revered Sir for advice. Kong Hai smiled and invited the two to sit in the house. The house was decorated very simply. There was a table under the window in front of the Kong bed, a chair and a stool in front of the table. There was a bookshelf against the wall filled with old books. Kong Hai sat cross-legged on the Kong bed and invited the two to sit. Revered Sir, we went to see Second Lady Xiao and Chu Li's corpses and found that they were gone. Guyu knew that Kong Hai did not like small talk and went straight to the point. We suspect that they are not dead. Kong Hai's calm face showed a complicated expression. Sigh. Kong Hai put his palms together. Ba, Revered Sir, Guyu said, I would like to ask Revered Sir to use your divine power again and use the all-seeing eye to check. Kong Hai sighed. This matter is already over. Why stir up trouble again? His Highness will not be at ease without seeing Second Lady Zhao's corpse. Guyu said helplessly. If I knew this would happen, I would have brought Second Lady Xiao back to the residence. Under the flower-pinching finger, there is no chance of survival. Kong Hai sighed. My sins have increased again. What a pity, Guyu said. After Revered Sir left, I buried them. When I went again, they were already gone. Of course, under the Revered Sir's flower-pinching finger, there is no chance of survival. I'm just afraid that they have some secret skill that can bring the dead back to life. Bring the dead back to life. Kong Hai muttered. As a Buddhist Revered Sir, he was familiar with this kind of special skill. Has there been any phenomenon? Kong Hai asked. You thought about it? He quickly nodded. I heard about it in the city. Not long after Revered Sir became a Buddha, the sky was filled with dark clouds and thunder. Breaking through the tallest building in the city, the Wild Sand Building. I heard the news when I was eating with Brother Ding. They were having a meal at the Wild Sand restaurant in Horse Racing Town. As grandmasters, it was only natural for them to go to the best restaurant. While they were eating, they overheard the conversation casually. Initially, he thought that it was just an exaggeration, so he didn't pay much attention to it. If that's the case, then let this old monk take a look. Kong Hai's snow-white brows furrowed. He opened a cupboard under the bookshelf and took out a box from it. There were a few strands of hair in the box. Kong Hai took out a strand of her hair and sat cross-legged on the Kong. Her appearance was solemn and dignified. The strand of hair was wrapped around the tip of her left index finger, motionless. After a long while, he slowly opened his eyes. He looked pensive. How is it, Venerable One? Guyu asked hurriedly. Kong Hai's brows were tightly furrowed as she gently shook her head. Second Miss Xiao didn't die. Guyu asked again, or is she already dead? You can see that, right? I can't tell, Kong Hai said. There's an invisible force blocking the all-seeing heaven and earth. He recalled Chu Li's formation. Is Second Miss Xiao really dead? Guyu sighed. Kong Hai pondered in silence. Ding Jian said, Venerable One, if you can't tell where she is, can't you tell if she's dead or alive? He felt that it shouldn't be too difficult. Guyu looked at Kong Hai. Venerable One, there must be a way, right? Your temple has so many divine powers. How can you not tell if someone is dead or alive? Sigh. Kong Hai sighed, his brows furrowed even more. He shook his head with a sad face, got off the Kong, and went to the door. Su Ling, invite your master's Junior Kong Jing over. Yes, master. A young novice monk who was playing beside the pagoda answered and ran away. Kong Hai sat back on the Kong. My Junior Kong Jing has the heaven's eye. Thank you, Venerable One Kong Hai. Guyu hurriedly smiled. It's all my fault. I shouldn't have been so careless. Everything is predetermined. Kong Hai shook his head and said, You reap what you sow. Almsgiver Gu, you don't have to blame yourself. As they spoke, an extremely old monk slowly walked in and bowed with pressed palms. Senior Kong Hai. He was thin, slightly hunched, and wore a faded yellow monk robe, revealing gray. Junior Kong Jing. Kong Hai waved his hand. He gestured for him to sit on the Kong. There's something I need your help with. The old and hunched Kong Jing slowly came to the Kong and sat down. What's the matter, senior brother? Junior brother, please help me see if this person is dead or alive. Kong Hai handed over a strand of hair. You don't have to look too much. Kong Jing took the strand of hair. A smile appeared on his wrinkled face. It's a female almsgiver? Kong Hai nodded. Kong Jing put his palms together, holding the strand of hair between his palms. He closed his eyes, looking solemn and sacred. Gu Yu and Ding Jian suddenly felt like they had woken up from a dream. Kong Jing's forehead was slightly lowered, as if he was using his forehead to stare at the strand of hair. Puffed. Kong Jing raised his head and spat out a mouthful of blood. Kong Hai reached out to support him and sighed. Thank you, junior brother. Kong Jing struggled to sit up and return the strand of hair with both hands, not saying a word. Almsgiver CEO seems to be an extraordinary person. Kong Hai looked at the strand of hair with a complicated expression. For an ordinary person, a glance at their fate and future would cause karma and karmic backlash to be insignificant. However, if one person's fate affected everyone's fate, a glance with the heavens would cause karma and karmic backlash to be much stronger. Seeing his junior brother spitting out a mouthful of blood, Co Sure was no ordinary woman. Gu Yu asked carefully, Honorable Kong Jing? Ding Jian looked at the old face without blinking. He felt as if he had aged a lot and was about to die. Kong Jing sighed. Motherly model of the world, unspeakably noble. Motherly model of the world? Gu Yu cried out involuntarily. Could it be the Empress? Kong Jing shook his head and did not say anything else. He bowed to Kong Hai with his palms together. Senior brother, I'll take my leave. Junior brother, take good care of your body. Kong Hai bowed with his palms together. Kong Jing smiled and slowly walked away. Gu Yu hurriedly said, Honorable Kong Jing, speak clearly. Kong Jing stood at the door and turned around with a smile. This noble is still alive and will be the motherly model of the world in the future. I will take my leave now. He bowed with his palms together and slowly left. How is that possible? Gu Yu turned around to look at Ding Jian. Ding Jian's expression changed as well. Gu Yu then looked at Kong Hai. Kong Hai frowned and sighed. Junior brother Kong Jing's heavens, I would not be wrong, and junior brother Kong Jing would not lie. It seems that Almsgiver Co is still alive. To be able to survive the flower-pinching finger, what an anomaly. Honorable sir, we need to see His Highness immediately. Gu Yu hurriedly said, Will you come with us? Kong Hai shook his head. I will not leave the temple. Gu Yu was shocked. Kong Hai said, I will pass away in 7 days. Honorable sir, you're in good spirits and your body is strong. How? Gu Yu was doubtful. Kong Hai said, My fate in the mortal world is over. I can finally leave. Honorable sir, Gu Yu was puzzled. Kong Hai smiled. There is only joy in returning to the outland after passing away. Almsgiver Gu need not feel this way. Then can I come and see you one last time? Chapter 299. P.S. Once again, I would like to thank everyone for their support. Subscriptions, gifts, monthly tickets, recommendation tickets, all of them are very important to me. Thank you. The two of them bade farewell and left the Titanium Temple. Both of them were filled with worries as they slowly walked down the mountain without speaking. Both of them were thinking about the same question. Should they report this matter to His Highness? The Royal Highness was determined to eradicate Second Lady Xiao. He was afraid that she and the public house would become an obstacle to his succession to the throne. So, he sent many masters to kill her. But now, he suddenly told King and that Second Lady Xiao was destined to be the Empress. What he did previously was a huge mistake. Where would King In put his face? The most important thing for the members of the royal family was their reputation. If he were Prince In, he would also feel awkward. He would not have a good impression of the person who told him the news. He would hate him and think of a way to get even with him in the future. As King In, it would be difficult for him to deal with this news. He was a prince. Was he supposed to apologize to Second Lady Xiao? He had really sent an expert to kill her, and he had killed her. However, for some unknown reason, she had come back to life. This was a true enmity. Even if he apologized, what was the use? Ding Jian thought for a while and asked in confusion, "Brother Gu, why would the Titanium Temple serve His Highness?" He did not find it strange before, but after seeing the Titanium Temple, he was puzzled. The Titanium Temple was so indifferent and did not care about material things. It was hard to imagine that they would kill for King, and Guyu said, "How can ordinary people like us see through the actions of these eminent monks? With the eye of the sky, could it be that he saw that King and was fated to be king? And Ding Jian's spirits were lifted. Guyu slowly nodded. "It's very possible." He shook his head again. Actually, it made no difference to the Titanium Temple who the emperor was. The Titanium Temple was different from the Tempest Temple. The disciples of the Titanium Temple rarely left the temple and stood aloof from worldly affairs. They did not have to care who the emperor was or what dynasty it was. In the end, Guyu waved her hand. Forget it. I won't be able to figure it out no matter how hard I try. Let's just talk about this. Should we report this to His Highness?" "Just say it," Ding Jian said helplessly. Fairy's capital, King An's imperial residence, main study room. A few palace lanterns were hung high in the study, making it look as bright as day. Prince An was dressed in a bright yellow robe. He stood in front of the two of them with his hands behind his back, not saying a word. He turned his head to look at a young monk not far away. Suning, the young monk, wore a yellow monk robe. He was plump and looked honest, as if anyone could bully him. He did not look like an eminent monk at all. He put his palms together and bowed. "Your Highness, Marshal Uncle Kong Jing is the #1 person in our temple with a heavenly, divine ability. This divine power consumes too much of one's lifespan. All these years, Marshal Uncle Kong Jing has almost never used this divine power. If it wasn't for Marshal Uncle Kong Hai, Marshal Uncle Kong Jing wouldn't have used it." "So what you're saying is true?" Prince An's handsome face tensed up. Marshal Aunt Kong Jing would never lie. Su Ning pressed his palms together and said, "Congratulations, Your Highness. The motherly model of the world. What a good motherly model of the world." King An's handsome face revealed a smile. He shook his head and sighed. His smile was helpless and bitter. He quickly collected his emotions and glanced at Guyu and Ding Jian. "Don't tell anyone about this. Don't blame this king for being heartless." "Yes," Guyu and Ding Jian hurriedly replied. They were responsible for the sect's heavy responsibilities. If they really offended King, and the sect would be implicated. Hearing this news, they were even more convinced that King and would be able to take the throne and become the emperor in the future. The sect would definitely receive endless benefits. "Your Highness, do you want to tell the princess?" "Apologize and say that it's a misunderstanding." Guyu looked at him carefully. "Princess?" King was stunned. Then he came to a realization and stared at him. "Old Gu, you're quite clever. Your mind is quite clever. She isn't even a princess yet. Hee, she'll be in a month. As long as Your Highness doesn't regret it. The House of High Dukes will not regret it." Guyu laughed. King smiled. He paced with his hands behind his back, his bright yellow robe dazzling under the light. After a few steps, he shook his head and said, "Forget it. Don't say anything." "Your Highness, you're not going to explain?" Guyu was surprised. "Your Highness, I've seen the princess's real face. She's really beautiful." "Is she really that beautiful?" King disagreed. Guyu raised his left palm. "If I speak a single lie, may I be struck by lightning." I'll believe you for now." King waved his hand. He was not that obsessed with women. What he cared about was the throne. "There's no rush. There's still a long way to go. Should we tell the House of High Dukes?" Just in case the House of High Dukes overreacted. If there were any more twists and turns, it would affect the progress of the wedding. That wouldn't be good. There's no need to say more. Republic House is also making a ruckus. If they let their guard down, Lu Yurong will take advantage of them. King and muttered. Lu Yurong, Gu Yu and Ding Jian looked at each other. Their faces were gloomy. Last time, they suffered a huge loss from Lu Yurong. They almost lost their lives. Even King An's precious body was injured. This woman's martial arts was strange. Her intelligence was extraordinary. She was really scary. Forget it. We won't deal with her anymore. King An said lightly. That Chu Li is good at dealing with Lu Yurong. Let them fight it out. We'll just watch the show. Your Highness, I'm afraid that the princess... Gu Yu quickly said. I've sent so many masters, but they can't do anything to her. The Republic House can't do anything either. King An clasped his hands behind his back. Unless Lu Yurong makes a move herself. Lu Yurong might really make a move. Ding Jian said. We'll talk about it then. King An said. Yes. The two closed fists saluted and left. Early in the morning, on the mountain peak outside of horse racing town, Chu Li slowly practiced the heavenly demonic power. His movements were slow and clumsy. Xiao Shi was practicing a life-preserving fist technique. It was soft and slow, just like the Taiji fist of the future. A pair of white, jade-like palms seemed to be stirring water. It was soft and powerless, yet smooth and natural. She glanced at Chu Li from time to time. Chu Li was fully focused on his body. He was pondering the heavenly demonic power. Xiao Shi was at ease. She was not nervous at all. She was fearless. If she died, then so be it. If Chu Li could not save her, then she would die too. With the two of them as companions, she would not be lonely on the road to hell. There was nothing wrong with that. Chu Li suddenly realized that the heavenly demonic energy did not need to follow the meridians. Inner energy was like water. It needed to flow in the meridians. If it did not go through the meridians, it could go through the body directly. However, it would hurt the body. The heavenly demonic energy was different. It could go anywhere in the body. At first glance, it was similar to the 5 grains essence. It did not harm the body wherever it went. However, in terms of power, the 5 grains essence was like clouds and mud. They cannot be compared. The heavenly demonic energy strengthened itself through devouring. He also realized that the heavenly demonic energy would speed up his moves. It would make his body faster. Compared to his own inner energy, the heavenly demonic energy had a huge advantage. Although the heavenly demonic power was good, he did not dare to use it easily. The heavenly demonic power was said to be the public enemy of Buddhism. Although it had been lost for 100 years, he did not dare to bet that the disciples of Buddhism would not recognize it. If they recognized it, the Tempest Temple and the Titanium Temple would attack together. He would definitely die. He had seen the power of the Tempest Temple and the Titanium Temple. He now understood that the heavenly demonic energy was hiding and could not appear in the world. The heavenly demonic power could only be used to change one's appearance. It could not be used against the enemy. Is it Yang Su? Xiao Shi suddenly said. Chu Li activated the omniscient mirror. He saw Yang Su under the protection of 8 protectors. She rode a horse and slowly passed the foot of the mountain. She's here for us, right? Xiao Shi asked. Chu Li nodded. He disappeared from the spot and appeared on the opposite peak. He stepped on the treetops and glided down. Yang Su saw him from afar. She was overjoyed, Chief. Chu Li approached her. The 8 protectors blocked Yang Su behind them. They had their hands on the hilt of their swords and stared at him. Yang Su quickly said, She's one of us. The 8 protectors took a step back. Yang Su approached Chu Li. Chief, there's a letter. Chapter 300. P.S. I'm sorry, the network is down. The entire town is disconnected from the internet. After much effort and a long journey, I can finally upload it. I don't know when I can upload it in the afternoon. I don't know if it can be fixed. The efficiency of the countryside is really bad. Chu Li took the letter and tore it open. It was a letter from Ling. In the letter, Ling said that there was a Gu Yu in the imperial residence of King An. She secretly sent a message saying that King An would not make a move on the second lady. Instead, She had to be careful of the Rin public house in case something happened and the wedding was ruined. She had already looked up information about this Guyu. She was a grandmaster from Feng Huang Mountain. Chu Li kept the letter in his arms and pondered. "Chief, is the lady all right?" Yang Su asked. Chu Li smiled. "She's fine. Why don't I come over and take care of the lady?" Yang Su asked. Chu Li said, "It's very troublesome here. You have to leave immediately. You can't stay for long." "Yes." Yang Su nodded lightly. Chu Li saw that she was a little reluctant. He secretly thought that she was a worrywart. He said, "The imperial residents of King In and the Rin public house are eyeing us. You have to leave before they send people over." "They will catch me?" Chu Li said, "Even if we don't know the second lady's whereabouts, asking about her daily habits is also a useful clue." "Yes." Yang Su knew that since the chief had already made arrangements, it was useless for her to say anything. Chu Li turned his head and looked at the crowd. "Let them all go back." Yang Su curtsied to a middle-aged man. "Brother Sang, thank you for taking care of me." The middle-aged man quickly waved his hand and closed fist saluted. "Sister Yang, let's go back first. If there's anything, just call me." "Yes." Yang Su smiled. Looking at them leave, Yang Su said, "Chief, I'll leave directly, right?" Chu Li nodded. "Just in case something happens." He reached out and grabbed Yang Su before disappearing. The next moment, he appeared in front of Jiang Kuai. Jiang Kuai had now transformed into a rough man. He rode 2 tall horses with a long knife on his waist. He had the demeanor of a martial arts hero. Jiang Kuai was about to enter the town. Suddenly, he saw Chu Li appear and closed fist saluted. Chu Li said, "Brother Jiang, it's been a long journey. Bring Miss Yang back, it's best to be safe. It's okay to take some detours." "Take." Jiang Kuai laughed. "Then let's go, Miss Yang." Yang Su hesitated. Chu Li said, "Someone will send your baggage back. You should leave immediately." "Yes." Yang Su curtsied. Chu Li closed fist saluted Jiang Kuai. Jiang Kuai smiled. "Chief, don't worry. I'll be careful." Chu Li nodded. Jiang Kuai was also a veteran in Jianghu. For so many years, no one had been able to catch him. His stealth ability was extremely high. Xiao saw that he had returned and was practicing her fists. She asked lazily, "What news is there now?" Chu Li told her about Shue's letter. "Kingen isn't going to kill me?" Xiao scoffed. "Why? There must be a reason why Guyu said that." Chu Li muttered. "The problem must be with the Titanium Temple." They watched as Guyu and the skinny old man left for the Vajra Temple's Winkong Sea. The Titanium Temple must have said something to them. Otherwise, they would have sent a large number of masters to search for them. "I want to meet this Guyu," Chu Li said. Xiao glared at him. "You want to walk right into my trap? Are you tired of living?" Chu Li said, "I have to clarify this matter. What if it's a trap? Kingen wants to kill me, and you too." Xiao said. "I'll go there secretly," Chu Li said. Xiao frowned. "You want to go back to the fairies' capital? How about we go back to Qingyan town?" Chu Li smiled. Xiao stared at him with her watery eyes. "Are you serious?" "Of course," Chu Li said. Yang Baoshu returned home, full of energy and vigor. Just as he was about to cultivate in the courtyard, he suddenly felt that something was amiss. He looked to his left and right before he leaped onto the wall. He saw Chu Li standing in the courtyard on the west side, dressed in a white robe. He had been repeating this action for the past few days. He would occasionally come over to have a look as he felt that Mr. Chu would appear again. "Mr. Chu." Yang Baoshu was overjoyed. Chu Li smiled and waved his hand. Yang Baoshu landed on the ground with a bang and went to Chu Li. "Mr. Chu, I thought you weren't coming back." Chu Li smiled. "No one came after that, right?" "No." Yang Baoshu shook his head. Chu Li nodded. "That's good. I can see that your martial arts has improved. Congratulations." Yang Baoshu could leap onto the wall. Although the landing was too loud, it was a huge improvement. Yang Baoshu was instantly excited. It's all thanks to Mr. Chu's guidance that the inner energy of the Agile Monkey Fist is very powerful. My inner energy is improving by leaps and bounds every day. Chu Li smiled and nodded. He had been practicing the Agile Monkey Fist since he was young and had accumulated a lot of experience. Now that he was practicing the heart technique of inner energy, he had accumulated a lot of experience. Mr. Chu, is there anything you need? I'm now the leader of the 10 people. I can get some information, Yang Baoshu said. Chu Li shook his head and smiled. Thank you. I'm just here for some peace. That's great. It's the quietest here. No one will disturb you. Yang Baoshu smiled. Chu Li nodded. Yang Baoshu said knowingly, Mr. Chu, you haven't had dinner, right? I'll ask my mother to cook. Thank you very much. Chu Li did not hesitate. As they were talking, Co Shi came out from the house. She was wearing a bluish-white gown. Her face was crystal clear and warm. Yang Baoshu felt that the courtyard was suddenly lit up. He quickly turned his head away and did not dare to look. He blushed and said goodbye to Chu Li. Chu Li smiled as he sent him off. Co Shi shook her head. This young man is quite enthusiastic. It was late at night. Guyu was cultivating in the courtyard. There were no lights in the courtyard. It was pitch black. Guyu's movements were silent. His body was like a ghost. He suddenly stopped and asked in a low voice, Who is it? Chu Li revealed himself, and closed fists saluted. I'm Chu Li. I'm here to see Senior Gu under the orders of the second lady. Chu Li. Guyu was stunned. He looked at Chu Li and said, Let's talk inside. Without the protection of the Sarira on Monk Kong Hai's wrist, Chu Li could see Guyu's thoughts. Although there was a hint of hostility, there was no killing intent. The lights in the house were bright. Guyu wiped the sweat off his forehead and gestured for Chu Li to sit. There are too many people. I won't serve tea. Guyu sat on the armchair. Chu Li said, The second lady received Senior Gu's letter. Guyu nodded. I won't admit that I wrote the letter. Chu Li said, The second lady will remember Senior Gu's favor. He peeked into Guyu's heart. Guyu did not care about him, but he cared about Co Shi. She was the mother of the nation. She was noble beyond words. He thought of ways to curry favor with her. Guyu smiled. Princess, you're being too serious. It's just a small matter. Chu Li said, Why did Prince suddenly change his mind? The second lady will feel uneasy if we don't know. Guyu sighed. His Highness's mind is hard to predict. Even we, who run errands, can't figure it out. I did mention that the princess's beauty is unparalleled. His Highness is also in the prime of his life. Chu Li nodded. I see. I'll go back and report to the second lady. Does Senior Gu know about the Rin public house? He sighed to himself. None of them were stupid. Guyu's face darkened. He looked serious. The princess must be careful of Lu Yurong. Her mind is hard to predict. Her martial arts is strong. The average grandmaster can't compare to her. Chu Li said, How many grandmasters does the Rin public house have? Around 12. Guyu said, The scariest one is not them. It's Lu Yurong. His Highness suffered a loss. Chu Li nodded. Kong Hai will pass away in 4 days? Yes. Guyu sighed. Revered Sir Kong Hai's divine powers are awe-inspiring. Unfortunately, Chapter 301. Attend the ceremony? Guyu was shocked and sized him up. Chief Chu, you want to go to the Titanium Temple? Chu Li nodded slowly. He saw the Titanium Temple that Guyu saw in his mind and was shocked. He knew that this decision was no different from suicide. There were many divine powers in the Titanium Temple. Once he stepped in, he wouldn't be able to escape and would die in the Titanium Temple. But Chu Li still decided to go. What was 10 lives of Buddhism? More importantly, he wanted to see if he had the chance to cultivate other divine powers. If he could cultivate the omniscient mirror divine power, he might be able to cultivate other divine powers. If he could not reach the enlightened mastery's boundary, his life would be meaningless. With the life and death scripture, it would not be easy for him to die. Moreover, he was reincarnated. Even if he died, he might be able to enter the next life. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. For the divine powers, he decided to take a gamble. Most importantly, he felt that if the Titanium Temple really wanted to kill him, he wouldn't be able to escape. If Kong Hai used the Titanium Sarira technique again, he would definitely die. He might as well send himself to them and see if they would kill him. Aren't you afraid that revered Sir Kong Hai will kill you again? Guyu smiled. Chu Li said, I'm going to the Titanium Temple to attend the ceremony. They won't kill me, right? That's true. Guyu nodded. If it's not against the Titanium Temple, the revered sir wouldn't kill anyone in the temple. All right, since Chief Chu dares to go, I dare to agree. Chief Chu is indeed a genius. I admire you. He knew that if it was Chu Li, he wouldn't have the guts. He didn't know if he was arrogant or stupid. He wanted to see what would happen to him. He laughed coldly to himself, but didn't show it on his face. He had an invisible hostility towards Chu Li. He didn't notice it, but Chu Li could see it clearly. Chu Li was amused. He had underestimated Seo Shi's beauty. Even a man of Guyu's age was affected. He would be jealous and hostile because he was too close to Seo Shi. When are we leaving? Chu Li asked. Second lady, shall we go together? Guyu stared at Chu Li. Chu Li pondered. He nodded slowly. If the Titanium Temple still wanted to kill the second lady, they wouldn't be able to escape. I'm afraid that Wang Fei cannot enter the temple. Guyu frowned. But she can wait outside the temple. He was secretly excited. He could not wait to see Seo Shi. Chu Li nodded. Thank you, Senior Gu. We'll leave tomorrow. Guyu said. Chu Li closed fist saluted. Then I shall take my leave. See you outside the city tomorrow. All right, I won't be sending you off. Guyu cupped his fists. When Chu Li told her his decision, Seo Shi's eyes widened in surprise. Chu Li asked, Does the lady not want to go? I think you're getting more and more suicidal. Seo Shi sighed. You're changing your tricks. Chu Li asked, Are you going? Fine. My life is yours anyway. Do as you please. Seo Shi said. What's there to see about those old monks? I want to see the 10 lifetimes of Dharma of enlightenment and divine abilities. So it's greed. Seo Shi saw through his thoughts and smiled. You want to get some benefits. Her sweet smile was like 100 flowers blooming, her appearance dazzling. Chu Li smiled. Seo Shi was becoming more and more casual in front of him. Seo Shi said, All right, since there are benefits, then let's go. That Guyu wants to do you a favor. He believes that the lady will become a princess and eventually become the empress. Chu Li smiled. The old monk in the Titanium Temple used the heaven's eye and saw your destiny. It's the motherly model of the nation. This is the reason why King and changed his mind. Motherly model of the nation? Seo Shi frowned. It can't be the empress, right? Chu Li said. The empress and empress dowager are both motherly models of the nation. Who knows? Seo Shi stared at him. Chu Li, do you really want to be a princess? King and's woman? Chu Li said calmly. I want to kill King and, but it's very difficult. He felt that it was too much for him. Her tone was bitter, as if she was in love with him and liked to tease him more and more. It's easier to kill him when he doesn't want to kill me. Seo Shi scoffed. I don't want to see this guy. Oomph. He kills whenever he wants and marries whenever he wants. He really thinks he's the emperor. Chu Li said, I'll try. Seo Shi rolled her eyes at him. Chu Li's desire to kill King and grew stronger. He wanted to marry Seo Shi, but not kill her. He also wanted to ascend the throne. What King was going to do next was obvious. It was easy to guess. He was going to attack the High Duke's public house. As long as the public house was around, he would never ascend the throne. So the first thing he would do was to eliminate the public house. If he married Seo Shi, it would be easier to confuse people. The public house would not even guard against him. Even if they did, they might not be able to. If King and was not eliminated, the public house would not be able to escape. Seo Chi was still in isolated cultivation. No one knew when she would be able to step into the enlightened mastery's boundary. But so what? By the time she came out, the High Duke's public house would have collapsed. Everything was set in stone. Even an enlightened master would not be able to turn the situation around. When that time came, Seo Chi would probably risk her life. The emperor was also an enlightened master, and he had been an enlightened master for a long time. How could he let Seo Chi live? After thinking about it, it was better to eliminate King and first. Of course, he would not tell Seo Shi about his far-reaching thoughts. It would only disturb her heart, and it would not help the situation. Seo Shi suddenly laughed. Chu Li looked at her. Seo Shi smiled and said, Chu Li, Don't you think we look like a pair of adulterous husband and wife? We haven't even married yet, and we're already plotting to kill our husband. Chu Li said snappily, Isn't it all because of you? Seems like you like me a little. Co sure smiled and said. Chu Li sighed. My lady, please be more reserved. Don't let others see you as a joke. It's not good for a family. There's no one else. Co sure smiled and said. After being saved by him 3 times, Co sure had completely let down her guard against him. She laughed and scolded him as she pleased. It was the most relaxing. Outside the fairy's capital, Chu Li and Co sure stood quietly by the road. She wore a loose purple robe that covered her graceful figure. Her face was covered with a veil, revealing only a pair of beautiful eyes. Guyu strode over. He wore a purple robe and had a graceful bearing. When he saw Chu Li, he took a look at Co sure and quickly closed fist saluted. Co sure's bright eyes moved. She glanced at him and nodded lightly. Guyu felt his body lighten under her clear gaze. He quickly said, Greetings, princess. Let's go, Co sure said coldly. Guyu quickly nodded. Chu Li was laughing on the side. Everything had its nemesis. Guyu was full of himself in front of him and acted like a senior. But in front of Co sure, he almost bowed down. It wasn't just because of her identity as a princess, but also because of her unparalleled beauty. Chu Li closed fist saluted. My lady, let's go. Yes, Co sure said coldly. With someone else around, she suddenly changed into a different person. She no longer had the carefree and lazy attitude she had when she was alone with Chu Li. Guyu did not feel offended at all. Instead, he felt that a princess should be cold and aloof. He laughed and said, Then I will lead the way for the princess. He turned to look at Chu Li. Can you keep up? Chu Li nodded. Co sure glared at Guyu impatiently. Guyu was stunned. Without another word, he used his light body technique and floated away. He left the main road and walked on the grass and trees. Seeing Chu Li holding on to Co sure's wrist, even though it was separated by a sleeve, it still made him jealous. His speed was getting faster and faster. Finally, his light body technique was pushed to its limit. His light body technique was top-notch. Otherwise, he would not have chased after Chu Li with Kong Hai. Chapter 302. P.S. If you don't have monthly votes, recommendation votes are also good. Haha, tips are even better. That's an affirmation of me. I'm looking forward to everyone's support. I take back what I said this morning. The efficiency of the villagers is very high. They fixed the network in one morning. Guyu was secretly angry, but also shocked. No wonder when King sent them. He reminded them to be careful of Chu Li's light body technique. He had thought that his light body technique was good enough for him to dominate the martial arts world. He did not expect Chu Li to be on par with him at such a young age. He did not use any secret arts to stimulate his potential. Otherwise, his speed would have doubled. He still had some sense left in him. If he really did this, after stimulating his potential, he would have to rest for a day. If the princess saw this, wouldn't she laugh her head off? More importantly, he had activated his secret technique, and Chu Li had also activated it. If he still lagged behind, he would be utterly humiliated. There was nothing wrong with leaving some leeway. Co sure looked at the scenery outside. Her fragrant body slowly softened. Almost all of her weight was on his hand. She squinted her eyes. Chu Li used his inner energy to block the wind. It was as if there was a windshield in front of her. The strong wind turned into a gentle breeze, fluttering her sleeves. She was like a speck of dust floating on the waves, fluttering in the breeze. Guyu would steal glances at her from time to time. Guyu felt that his willpower was extraordinary to be able to stop himself from turning his head. Guyu activated his Qing Gong with all his might. His speed was astonishing, even faster than a galloping horse. In the blink of an eye, he was already a mile away. The Vajra Temple was located to the west of the godly capital, about 2,000 miles away. The two of them arrived at the Vajra Temple in the evening. Co sure had already taken 2 naps. She slowly woke up and opened her eyes. She stretched, revealing her stunning curves. Not here yet. Princess, we've arrived, Guyu respectfully replied. Seosher stood outside the Temple of Titanium and sized up the old temple. Her eyes flashed. This is the Temple of Titanium. Princess, I also found it strange when I first arrived. I didn't expect the Titanium Temple to be like this. Guyu smiled and said, I've seen the Great Thunderclap Temple before. It's dignified, sacred, and resplendent. It's truly a noble Buddhist temple. This place, on the other hand, seems like a village temple. Xiaoshi said, their dharma is different. Can I go in? I'll go ask first, Guyu hurriedly said. He stepped forward and opened the temple door. An intelligent novice monk opened the door and looked at him curiously. Then, he looked at Chu Li and Seosher. Which one of you is Benefactor Xiao? Asked the novice monk. Xiaoshi said, Little monk, my surname is Xiao. She's indeed a lady almsgiver. The young novice monk put his palms together with a smile and said loudly, Uncle Kong Hai invites the three of you. Kong Hai is easy to talk to now. Xiaoshi scoffed. Chu Li smiled. It's good enough that we're able to enter. Seosher's face darkened. Thank you, little monk. The young novice monk invited the three into the temple and into the courtyard. There were more than 100 monks sitting in the courtyard, old monks and young monks. The little monk. The little monk was in the innermost circle, the young monk was in the middle circle, and the old monk was in the outermost circle. At the center of the circle sat the calm and composed Kong Hai. Chu Li noticed that a few of the pagodas were emitting a golden light. He could vaguely see a small person sitting in a lotus position amidst the golden light. The light shrouded the entire Titanium Temple. Chu Li's omniscient mirror was ineffective here, so he could not see anything. It was impossible to tell which of these monks had divine abilities and which didn't. From the looks of it, it was impossible to tell. They all looked like they did not cultivate martial arts. Kong Hai sat cross-legged on a yellow cattail hassock. In front of him was a purple wooden box. Other than that, there was nothing else. He closed his eyes slightly and did not move an inch. Chu Li sized him up. The current Kong Hai had the demeanor of a high monk of Buddhism. He was calm and composed. It was as if he was a different person from the Kong Hai who hunted him down. The surrounding monks did not move an inch. It was so quiet that only the sound of the wind and the footsteps of the three could be heard clearly. Kong Hai slowly opened his eyes. He extended his hand and waved. The young novice monk said, Almsgiver Seo, Almsgiver Chu, Uncle Kong Hai invites the two of you. Guyu looked at the young novice monk. The young novice monk closed his eyes and did not speak. Seosher looked at Chu Li. Chu Li nodded. The two walked past the monks. They passed by the bald heads and arrived in front of Kong Hai. Umabab Buddha. Kong Hai put his palms together. Almsgiver Seo, Almsgiver Chu, greetings. Chu Li smiled. Is revered Sir Kong Hai really going to pass away? Yes. Kong Hai smiled kindly, calm and serene. Our ties with the world have ended. It's time to go back. Chu Li said, Before revered Sir leaves, can you answer my doubts? Kong Hai smiled. Almsgiver Chu, please speak. Chu Li said, I really find it hard to believe that revered Sir would help king and to kill. Why not? Kong Hai smiled. Chu Li shook his head. Revered Sir should be able to see through the riches and glory of the world. You won't bow down to power, right? It's fine to kill or not to kill. It's fine to help king and or not. As a cultivator, if he does not act according to his heart, how can he see through this illusory world? Kong Hai smiled. Some things can be done and some things can't be done. It's all in the heart. When King An asked me for help, I felt it. The opportunity has come, so I followed King An's words. It's not for other reasons. Chu Li's expression changed slightly. He slowly glanced at the monks who were sitting cross-legged. The young ones were intelligent, the young ones were handsome, and the old ones were like withered trees. Their gazes were calm and peaceful. Chu Li suddenly understood that Kong Hai obeyed King An's order to kill the two of them. It was not for the Titanium Temple, nor was it for King An. The Titanium Temple's way of doing things was different from the Tempest Temple. Everything they did was for cultivation. In their eyes, the world was just a place for cultivation. Killing or not, it was just for cultivation. The Tempest Temple was strict and respected. On the other hand, the Titanium Temple was indifferent to the mundane world. They acted unscrupulously and disdained the mundane world. "Revered sir, what opportunity is it?" Chuli asked. Kong Hai said, "The opportunity to leave this world has come. I have to thank Almsgiver Chu for fulfilling my wish." Chuli smiled. "I don't deserve it." Kong Hai said, "The moment I killed you, I also kill myself. The Kong Hai of today is no longer the Kong Hai of the past. I understand the mundane world and transcend the mundane world. I have to thank Almsgiver Chu." Chuli seemed to be deep in thought. Although the old monk's words were vague, he was from the Temple of Autumn, so he could understand. The titanium Sarira technique must have enlightened him greatly. After killing someone, he cut off the karma of the mundane world. His state of mind improved, and he could leave this world. Kong Hai turned his head. "Almsgiver CEO." CEO sure looked at him calmly. "What do you have to say, old monk?" Kong Hai pushed the box forward. "This is Almsgiver CEO's hair. Not a single strand is missing." CEO sure scoffed. Chuli took the box and opened it. It was indeed CEO Shure's hair. He rubbed the hair lightly in his palm. A faint burnt smell wafted over. The hair turned into powder and scattered on the ground with the wind. Kong Hai slowly took off the Sarira prayer beads from his left wrist. He stared at it for a while and sighed with a complicated expression. He passed it to CEO. "Sure, this prayer beads is something I always carry with me. I am giving it to Almsgiver CEO. With this prayer bead on you, no divine power can get close." Chuli quickly signaled CEO Sure with his eyes. This was the most precious item. She must accept it. CEO Sure frowned as she looked at the prayer beads. She shook her head. "Old monk, this is something you always carry with you. Why are you giving it to me? You should give it to your juniors. Can't you see their eyes are shining?" Chuli knew that she disliked the prayer beads because they were ugly and did not want to wear it. Kong Hai smiled kindly. Then his smile blossomed, and he laughed out loud. CEO Sure glared at him in annoyance. Kong Hai kept his smile. "This is my sincerity. It is also my apology to Almsgiver CEO." Chapter 303. Chuli quickly took the prayer beads and stuffed them into CEO Shure's hands. "This is a token of appreciation from the revered sir. Just accept it, or else the revered sir will not be able to free himself. Haha, to cut off all ties with the world, to end all grudges, to eliminate the cause and effect. My merit is complete. It's time for me to move." Kong Hai laughed. Chuli quickly asked, "Master, the grudge hasn't been resolved yet, right?" Kong Hai looked over with a faint smile. Chuli said, "I was killed by you once too." Back then, he wanted to chop Kong Hai into pieces to relieve the hatred in his heart. But now that he saw Kong Hai like this, his hatred dissipated and was no longer as strong. "Almsgiver Chu didn't die?" Kong Hai asked. Chuli shook his head. "I died once." Kong Hai smiled. "If that's the case, I really can't just leave. What does Almsgiver Chu want?" "Master's divine power," Chuli said. "Can you teach it to me?" Kong Hai looked at Chu Li and smiled. "Almsgiver Chu is also a Buddhist. Why can't you see through this? Divine power is also a demonic barrier." Chuli said, "If I don't learn it, how can I see through it? Forget it." Kong Hai sighed and said slowly, "I will teach Almsgiver Chu the all-knowing technique. If you can understand it, it's fate with the temple. If you can't, there's no need to talk about it." Chuli smiled. "Thank you, revered sir. The technique must not be passed to 6 ears." "Almsgiver Chu, please come closer," Kong Hai said. Chuli looked at him cautiously. Kong Hai smiled and looked at him. Chuli slowly came closer and put his ear close. Kong Hai softly chanted a Buddhist scripture. His voice was soft, but every word was clear. Chuli directly imprinted it in his mind and smiled. "Thank you, revered sir. Buddhist divine power is for those who are fated and those who have merit. If you can really cultivate the all-knowing technique, the Titanium Temple will not treat you as an enemy." Kong Hai smiled. "You can come to the temple to cultivate the 10 lifetimes of Buddhahood." Chuli smiled. "I am fated with Buddhism, but I don't want to become a Buddha." "Umapa." Revered Sir Kong Hai smiled. Almsgiver Chu, who can predict the future? Master doesn't have the eye of the eye. Chu Li smiled and bowed. He returned to Co. Shi's side. Kong Hai put his palms together toward the two of them, and then he put his palms together toward the rest of the monks. Fellow Shi Xiang, Shidi, Lao Na, is leaving. I'll go ahead and wait for you at the sky beyond heaven. After saying that, he put his palms together and remained motionless. Chu Li pulled Co. Shi out of the circle and looked at Kong Hai from afar. All the monks put their palms together and bowed, severing the false self to become the true self. Seeming illusory yet real becomes real. Kong Hai chanted softly, Amit Ba. His voice gradually deepened. In the end, there was only silence. Amit Ba. All the monks chanted the name of Buddha in unison, their voices sounding like a huge bell. Kong Hai's body gradually emitted light, and the light grew brighter and brighter. Under the illumination of the light, his body gradually became translucent, turning into color glass, just like when he used the Vajra, Sarira technique. The glazed body suddenly shone brightly, and everyone was almost blinded. When they could see clearly again, they saw a white light shooting straight into the sky, like a white pillar standing between heaven and earth. Above the pillar of light, the clouds parted, and a building could be vaguely seen. Palaces and pavilions floated in the air. The palaces were gold in color, with gold bricks and gold tiles, white jade railings, blue sand paving the ground, and white lotuses were everywhere, floating with the wind, competing to bloom. The faint chanting of scriptures floated down from the sky, mellow and gentle. It was hard to tell whether it was a man or a woman. It was melodious and pleasant, like flower petals falling on people. When the sound entered his ears, Chu Li felt his body and mind instantly calm down. His body suddenly became much lighter. In a trance, he felt as if he was about to fly. An inexplicable sense of joy arose. All his worries disappeared, and he was carefree. His soul fell into a state of great peace and joy, and he could not wait to convert to Buddhism. From then on, he would be free from worries. In front of the Golden Palace, Kong Hai's figure slowly appeared. A white lotus floated over, supported his legs, and floated into the palace. The pillar of light suddenly disappeared, and the chanting of scriptures dissipated. Everything returned to normal, and there were only 6 Sariras on the cattail hassock. Co. Shi said softly, "This is his 6th life." Chu Li raised his eyebrows. How many Sariras represent which life? Co. Shi nodded and said softly, "In another 100 years, he will reincarnate again, but by then, he won't be able to recognize us." It really is mysterious, Chu Li exclaimed. The Outland really exists. What's there to doubt? Co. Shi looked at him in surprise. You actually think that the Outland doesn't exist? Chu Li asked, why does it exist? Why not? Co. Shi said, there's always someone better than you. Haven't you heard of this? Chu Li laughed. This world was indeed different from his original world. It was more mysterious. The monks got up and left. An old monk slowly walked in front of the cattail hassock, kept the 6 Sariras, and walked in front of the 3. Revered sir, I would like to cultivate in your temple for a period of time, Chu Li said. The old monk's movements were hesitant and difficult, as if he would stop at any time. Guyu recognized him. He was the old monk who opened the temple door last time. The old monk frowned and looked at Chu Li. You and junior brother Kong Hai are fated. You can cultivate in his house, but there's only one house, almsgiver Co. I'll stay here too, Co. Shi said. I'll just stay with him. Then it's fine, the old monk said slowly. Guyu widened his eyes at Chu Li, then looked at Co. Shi. Co. Shi said coldly, what are you looking at? Guyu hesitated for a while, then braced himself and said, Princess, this is not good, right? What's not good? Co. Shi said impatiently. Are you afraid that he has ulterior motives? This is really a hindrance to Princess's reputation. I'm just afraid that if His Highness finds out. Chief Chu. Guyu looked at Chu Li. Although Chu Li was a scribe, he was still a man, and a young man at that. They had to be careful. If they were to be so close, His Highness King and would not be able to take it no matter how magnanimous he was, and would definitely kill Chu Li. If the hierarchy between men and women was so useful, the imperial palace would not need eunuchs anymore. Chu Li said, Lady Co sure will stay in the house. I'll stay outside, as long as I'm in the temple. The titanium temple was shrouded in golden light. Chu Li guessed that this golden light might be beneficial to the cultivation of divine power, so he decided to give it a try and understand it. If he could really understand the all-seeing divine power, it would be the best. Gu Yu quickly said, Then can I stay in the temple too? The old monk looked at Gu Yu and shook his head. Almsgiver, you are not fated with the temple. Please leave. Gu Yu's face did not look good. He said in a low voice, I have an old relationship with revered Sir Kong Hai. How can you say that we are not fated? The old monk gently waved his tattered sleeves. Gu Yu flew up like a dandelion swept away by the wind. In the blink of an eye he was in the sky, flew out of the temple wall, and disappeared. Chu Li looked at the old monk, who looked like he was about to die at any time. He could not use the omniscient mirror. He could not see through the old monk's background. Gu Yu was one of the top grandmasters, but in front of this old monk, he was powerless. This old monk's power was obvious. If it was him, he would not be any different. Go, you only have 10 days. Turn left, second house. The old monk murmured, turned around, and left slowly. Chu Li and Co sure arrived at Kong Hai's house. Co sure wanted to take a look, but did not say anything. Chapter 304. Co sure saw how hardworking he was and knew that divine powers were important to him, so she did not disturb him. However, she was not optimistic about it. If divine powers were so easy to cultivate, the Titanium Temple would not only have these people, they would have long surpassed the Tempest Temple. There were more than 100 monks. Other than the novice monks, young monks, and middle-aged monks, the only ones who could truly cultivate divine powers were the old ones. 20 of them would be enough to break the heavens. That meant they had trained for more than 100 years. Every disciple of the Titanium Temple was a genius. There were some who achieved divine powers at a young age, but that was only possible after training in the temple for a few years. Chu Li must be dreaming if he wanted to achieve anything in just 10 days. However, if he wanted to learn divine powers so badly, then let him be. Co sure left the house and strolled around the courtyard. More than 10 novice monks gathered around her and looked at her curiously. A skinny, yellow-faced novice monk pressed his palms together and said, Lady Almsgiver, can you take off your veil and let us see what you look like? No, little monk. I'm afraid you'll be tempted. Co sure shook her head. Lady Almsgiver, you underestimate us. Although the novice monk looked sickly, his eyes were bright and clear. We see beauties as skeletons. Why would he be tempted? That's right. Lady Almsgiver, you're just a set of bones. The novice monk beside him agreed. Co sure smiled. Little monk, you're so stubborn. Do I really have to take off my veil? Take it off, let us see. The novice monks urged. Co sure smiled at them. What if you're tempted and ruin your cultivation? What if your master comes after me? We won't blame you. We won't blame you. Lady Almsgiver, we won't say a word. The novice monk said. The skinny novice monk said, Lady Almsgiver, are you ugly? What a little monk. You know beauty and ugliness? Co sure smiled. The skinny novice monk said, Lady Almsgiver, I'm Su-in, not a little monk. All right, little monk Su and Co sure said, can you bring me a sturdier string? I want to split the prayer beads into 2 strings. Sarira prayer beads? Su-in quickly said, Lady Almsgiver, this is a Sarira Buddhist bead. You must not lose it. Is it okay to split it into 2? Co sure said, my wrist is too thin. I can't wear it. I'll go get the wire. Void ran away like a wisp of smoke. He quickly picked up a white thread and looked at it, but it was abnormally flexible. This is the Void's silkworm thread. The Void said as if it was presenting a treasure. Even a knife can't cut it. Thank you, little monk. Co sure smiled. She took off the prayer beads and tried to untie them, but she failed. Suin giggled and said, "This is a prajna button. Female almsgiver, you won't be able to undo it. Let me do it." You people from the Titanium Temple sure have a lot of tricks up your sleeves. Co sure passed the prayer beads to him. Suin said, "Because master and martial uncles are too free." The novice monks giggled. Suin's fingers were slender and nimble. He quickly untied the prayer beads, then lowered his head to separate the prayer beads. However, because there were 35 of them, he couldn't divide them evenly. He frowned and thought for a moment, then suddenly stood up and ran away. Co sure looked at him strangely. After a while, Suin ran back with a sarira in his hand. He put it into the original sarira, and there were 36 of them now. He was instantly beaming. Co sure pursed her lips and smiled. "Little monk, you're quite interesting. Forget it, you don't need to pay. You could just take this one," she said as she passed 2 sarira to Suin. "This is for you. I'll remember you, little monk Suin." Suin quickly waved his hand to reject it. He was a disciple of the Titanium Temple, so naturally he knew how precious this sarira was. Co sure said, "Take it. In the future, I might need you to save me. 1 sarira can perform the Titanium sarira technique once. You owe me a life, so cultivate well." "Thank you, female almsgiver." Suin accepted the sarira and pursed his lips. He said seriously, "I'll definitely save you once." Co sure smiled lightly. "All right, I'll wait. But you must cultivate well, lest you can't save me when I'm in danger." "Definitely not." Suin nodded heavily. Co sure smiled as she looked at Suin. She found it interesting. Suddenly, she took off her veil, revealing her devastatingly beautiful face. She smiled brilliantly and put the veil back on, smiling at them with narrowed eyes. Suin and the novice monks were stunned. Co sure knew it would end like this. She smiled lightly, turned around, and left. She returned to the house and passed a string of prayer beads to Chu Li. "This is for you." Chu Li opened his eyes and looked at the sarira prayer beads. "I know you like this." Co sure said, "Your eyes are shining. Take it." Chu Li smiled and took it. "This is good stuff. It can block all divine powers." "What's the use of blocking divine powers?" Co sure said disapprovingly, "Divine powers aren't omnipotent. If a punch comes, it can't block it at all." Chu Li said, "What's hard to defend against is divine powers. Martial arts aren't that scary." "Stop bragging. Martial arts aren't scary." Co sure said, "Just like that old monk just now, what's the use of divine powers?" Chu Li smiled and did not argue with her. If it was him just now, he could have dodged it. "I found a young monk. He's very interesting." Co sure smiled and told him what happened just now. Chu Li said, "This young monk has great wisdom. It's rare. He's stupid and silly." "What great wisdom?" Co sure said. Chu Li said, "Gain and loss, pros and cons, these are just worldly calculations. He's a cultivator. To be able to cast all these aside, if it's not wisdom, what is it? I'd like to meet him when I have the time. You want to give him some advice again?" Co sure smiled. "This is the Titanium Temple." Chu Li laughed. "That's true. How is it? Have you cultivated the divine powers?" Co sure asked. Chu Li frowned. He had no clue. There was a faint force that was preventing him from comprehending. This force was slightly weakened by the golden light, but it was still strong enough. To cultivate the divine powers, it would take more than a few days. If he really wanted to cultivate the divine powers, it would be best to isolate himself in the Titanium Temple and use the environment here to improve. Once he left the Titanium Temple, his progress would be extremely slow, and he would almost never be able to comprehend the divine powers. No wonder the disciples of the Titanium Temple rarely went out. It was not good for cultivation outside the temple. Co sure said, "It's fine if you can't cultivate it. It's a waste of time." Chu Li shook his head. "I'll stay here for a few days. It's safer here." "Up to you. It's fine even if you stay until the day of your wedding. I'm going to sleep for a while. You can cultivate by yourself." She went straight to the bed. Chu Li quickly got off the bed. "You rest first. I'll go out and cultivate." He then left the house and went to a pagoda. Why was there a small person sitting in the golden light of the pagoda? He felt that it was not an illusion. What was it? Unfortunately, the omniscient mirror could only see inside the temple. It could not leave the body, so he could not figure it out. A few novice monks sat together under another pagoda. They sat in the lotus position and did not move. They were all cultivating. Chuli smiled at them. They were all geniuses. None of them were weaker than him. They might even be better than him. Chapter 305. P.S. The first update tomorrow morning will be at 9. It's too early in the morning, and I'll be delayed if something happens. Let's try it out and see how it goes. Chuli went forward and smiled. May I ask, young revered sir, what are they doing? Benefactor Chu, they are meditating. Don't worry. Suin put away the saraira, pressed his palms together, and said seriously. Chuli smiled. Why do I need to calm down? When they saw Benefactor Zhao's face, their hearts were moved, and their hearts were in chaos. Suin said, therefore, they must calm their hearts and be at ease. Then why don't you use it, little venerable? The heart has always been moving. What's the point of being calm? It's better to just let it be, Suin said. Chuli smiled. Young revered sir, there's a deeper meaning behind your words. Master doesn't like to hear this. Suin shook his head and said with a vexed expression. Chuli said, once young revered sir cultivates the divine power, your master won't bother too much. I can't cultivate, Suin said. Chuli raised his eyebrows. Why? Master said that my body is congenitally deficient, so I can't cultivate. If I cultivate, I'll only die faster, Suin said. Chuli nodded slowly. His face was indeed sickly, and his body looked very weak. I know a little about medicine. What do you think? Chuli extended his hand. Suin handed over his wrist. Chuli could not rely on the omniscient mirror, so he could only circulate his inner energy around his body bit by bit. He remained silent. It was true that his meridians were weak and dispirited, a sign of a congenital deficiency, but after that he denied that Suin's pulse was very similar to Co Shi's, but he believed that it would not be such a coincidence. Suin said, Master said that this body has to be nurtured slowly. There's nothing we can do about it. Divine arts aren't omnipotent. I can't cultivate the 10 lifetimes of Dharma? Chuli asked. Suin said, if I want to cultivate the 10 lifetimes of Buddhahood, I must first cultivate a type of divine art. I can't cultivate it now. I have an idea. Chuli saw that he had an outstanding temperament and was born with wisdom. He was indeed a good seedling. The thought of hoarding a rare commodity came up again. But I can only use it outside the temple. You can cure my body. Suin tilted his head and looked at him. Chuli replied, sure. Then I'll have to ask Master, said Suin. Chuli smiled and nodded. Suin pressed his palms together, stood up, and ran off. After a while, an old monk strode over. He was tall and burly, slightly stooped, with a lion's nose and tiger's eyes. His eyes were sharp and threatening, making him look more like a martial arts hero. He did not seem like an eminent monk. Old monk Kong Fa greets almsgiver Chu. The old monk put his palms together and bowed. Chuli pressed his palms together. Revered Sir Kong Fa, I have a skill called the 9 Transformation Meridian Reforming Technique. It can cure young revered Sir Su An's congenital deficiency. Umaba. Kong Fa put his palms together and laughed joyfully. The opportunity has indeed come. Heaven has not forsaken Suin. Thank you, almsgiver Chu. Chuli said, I'm going to perform it outside the temple. I wonder if revered Sir Kong Fa is at ease? Can this old monk accompany you? Of course. Then it's fine. When can it be treated? There are enough needles. I can do it now. Chuli told him about the needles he needed. Monk Kong Fa stood up and strode away. Chuli looked at his bearing and looked at Suin. Like master, like disciple. Kong Fa acted according to his nature. Suin was a little similar to Kong Fa. After a while, Kong Fa passed a box of needles to Chuli. Chuli took it and glanced at it. All right, let's leave the temple. The three of them pushed open the courtyard door and went outside the temple. Chuli found a forest that was sheltered from the wind. He was going to perform the 9 transformation meridian reforming technique on Suin. After leaving the golden light of the pagoda, Chu Li asked Suin to pass the Saraira to Kong Fa. The omniscient mirror was activated to see every part of Suin's body. His face immediately darkened. He did not think that there would be such a coincidence in this world. He frowned and looked at Kong Fa. Kong Fa noticed that Chu Li's expression was a little strange. Almsgiver Chu? Chu Li said, "Does Great Master Kong Fa know about young revered Sir Suin's condition? Congenital weakness." Kong Fa said, "His vitality must have been damaged in his mother's womb." Chu Li shook his head and sighed. "It's the vitality sealing finger." When he saw the vitality sealing finger, he thought of the suffering Co Sure had suffered. The person who did it was extremely vicious. Last time it was King In. Who would it be this time? How could such a vicious technique be passed down? It could be seen how evil people could be. Kong Fa was at a loss. Chu Li then explained the origin of the vitality sealing finger. "It's such a vicious technique." Kong Fa was furious. "What a scoundrel. There's actually such a vicious person in this world. I can't wait to die under his palm." Chu Li said, "It seems that young revered Sir Suin has an extraordinary background. A normal family child would not be qualified to receive the vitality sealing finger." Kong Fa sighed and shook his head. Suin is indeed the son of a nobleman. However, since he has entered the Titanium Temple, he has left home. Everything in the mortal world is like an old dream. Let all go. There's no need to care about it. Chu Li saw that he had no intention of revealing anything. Because of the Saraira, he could not see through Kong Fa's thoughts. Chu Li said, "If that's the case, then let's perform the technique." Chu Li, Kong Fa, and Suin stayed outside for a night. The next morning, Chu Li removed the needles. Suin's sickly complexion had mostly faded. He looked much more relaxed. Suin waved his arms excitedly. "Almsgiver Chu, I'm fine now." Chu Li smiled. "There's still one more step. Remove the vitality sealing finger." He looked at Kong Fa. "Revered sir, removing the vitality sealing finger is extremely dangerous. There's a slim chance of survival. Just remove it," Kong Fa said lightly. "All right." Chu Li fiercely hit Suin's Baihui acupoint. Suin froze. A thick inner energy went straight down like a mountain torrent. It instantly broke through all the obstacles around him. Suin farted and was instantly refreshed. Chu Li let go of his hand and let out a long sigh. "It's done." Kong Fa felt Suin's wrist and grinned. Good. It's a great opportunity indeed." Suin, hurry and kowtow to Almsgiver Chu. Chu Li quickly waved his hand and smiled. "There's no need for that. It's nothing. It's nothing for you. For Suin, it's 10 lifetimes of fate." Kong Fa chuckled. The grace of giving him a new lease of life should be properly thanked. "How about this? I'll teach you another divine power." Chu Li could not help but laugh. "Revered sir, your temple's divine power is," Kong Fa said. "Techniques are not easily taught, but you've saved Suin. How can I not repay your kindness?" Chu Li thought about it. "Then I won't decline. What divine power does revered sir want to teach me?" "How about God's limbs?" "I couldn't ask for more." "All right then. We'll teach it when we return to the temple. No one in the temple can spy on us." "It's hard to say outside," Kong Fa said. Chu Li glanced around. The three of them returned to the temple. A few novice monks were practicing their fist techniques. When they saw them return, 2 of them ran away and quickly brought back 2 old monks. Kong Fa laughed out loud. "Brother Kong Ji, Brother Kong Hui, Almsgiver Chu has cured Suin." The 2 old monks looked at Suin, then touched his wrist and looked at Chu Li in admiration. "I want to teach Almsgiver Chu Li God's limbs." "Kong Fa, it's better to teach something else. Even if you teach him divine power, he won't be able to cultivate it." Old monk Kong Ji shook his head. "Not necessarily." Kong Fa smiled. "I see that Almsgiver Chu is extraordinarily intelligent. He might be able to cultivate it. Not now, but maybe one day in the future. Forget it, up to you." The two old monks shook their heads and left. Kong Fa brought Chu Li to his room, the second room on the right, and taught him a scripture. When Chu Li returned to the room, Co Shi was sitting at the table reading a book. She glanced at him and scoffed. Her face was tense as she continued reading. Chu Li smiled as he told her what happened. Co Shi's face darkened. Vitality, sealing finger? It can't be that princeton again, right? How could there be such a coincidence? Chu Li shook his head. Co Shi scoffed. The little monk's luck is really good. There were only a few people in the world who could break the vitality sealing finger. Chu Li was one of them, but he was met by the little monk. Yes, luck is also very important in cultivation. Chu Li said, "Young revered Sir Su and will become a great person in the future, just like Lady Co Shi. One who survives a disaster is bound to have good fortune later on." Chapter 306. P.S. Thank you for your enthusiasm. I'm flattered. The next chapter is at 11 o'clock. Xiao Shi glared at him. Chu Li hurriedly waved his hand to indicate that he had misspoken. However, this Su is full of spirituality. He will definitely be successful in the Titanium Temple. What benefits did you get this time? Xiao Shi asked. Chu Li looked at her helplessly. She displayed her intelligence to the fullest in front of him. Her words were straight to the point, and she did not hold back at all. You don't do things that don't benefit you. Xiao Shi chuckled. I've seen through you. Chu Li coughed softly. There's no such thing. All right, I've obtained God's limbs again. Co Shi giggled. Chu Li smiled and said, My kindness has become 100 schemes in your eyes. You're really gauging the heart of a gentleman with your own mean measure. Come on. Co Shi's body trembled. You call yourself a gentleman, but he really is a gentleman. Chu Li said, I think it's easier to cultivate God's limbs. I might even be able to master it before I leave the temple. Don't disturb me. I know, I'll go play with these novice monks. Co Shi stood up and smiled. Chu Li hurriedly said, Don't overdo it. Don't ruin the cultivation of the young revered ones. You're too kind. Xiao Shi rolled her eyes at him and left the room. Chu Li shook his head in resignation. Her personality was the exact opposite of Xiao Qi's. She was warm on the outside but cold on the inside. Even after she recovered and became more cheerful, her nature remained the same. Her temperament was ever-changing. In front of outsiders, she was usually cold, sometimes gentle, and sometimes smiling sweetly like a flower. But no matter what kind of expression he had, his heart was cold, indifferent, and he didn't care about others. He didn't even care about his own life and death. So how could he care about the life and death of others? For these little supreme experts, she was a trial they had to pass. Before they got involved in matters of the heart, they had to see through their outer appearances. His mind was calm and undisturbed. Chu Li sat quietly on the brick bed as a round mirror appeared in his mind. The scripture of God's limbs was circulating in the mirror. In the Titanium Temple, the omniscient mirror could not be used outside, but could be used internally. Every word of the scripture flashed in the round mirror, deducing the profound meaning of the scripture. Unknowingly, he had entered the deepest level of meditation. His mind was completely immersed in the scripture, and the Sarira prayer beads on his wrist emitted a faint golden light. The golden light gradually gathered. Finally, it condensed behind Chu Li's head and formed a 5-colored halo. He sat in a lotus position, his expression slowly changing. His appearance was solemn, quiet, and peaceful. At noon, Co Shi pushed open the door and entered. Seeing his strange appearance, her bright eyes moved back and forth on his body and her black eyebrows slightly furrowed. He couldn't really have become a monk, right? What if they didn't leave the Titanium Temple? She sank in her chair and rested her elbows on the table. He rested his chin on his left palm and stared at Chu Li. Chu Li did not move at all. He did not feel anything. Co Shi suddenly felt that this face was both familiar and strange at the same time. Thinking back to the time they first met, everything had changed too quickly. It was like a fleeting dream. Everything had changed too quickly. A year ago, when had he ever taken him seriously? He couldn't even be bothered to look at him. A year later, she was sharing a room with him, intimately connected. The world changes in a strange way. It was really unfathomable. Who knew what would happen to him in another year? What about in 10 years? What about 20 years later? Where the thoughts lie? Where I am. Chuli chanted softly. Where I think is where I am. The golden light at the back of his head shrunk and drilled into the back of his head. He suddenly disappeared. Co Sure was shocked. Chuli suddenly reappeared with a face full of smiles. Co Sure hurriedly asked, "You've mastered it?" Chuli laughed heartily. "It's really fast." "How long has it been?" Co Sure turned to look at the window. It was already evening, a day. Chuli praised, "What a great god's limbs." "You've really mastered it?" Co Sure said, "Is there any difference between it and your light body technique? Your Qigong is also very powerful. Don't forget to practice it. Don't even think about it. It's still not as good as your light body technique." Back then, when Chuli carried her to perform Imminent Skyline, she still had lingering fears. The pain was unbearable, and she almost lost her life. But she also knew the secret of Imminent Skyline. She could ignore distance and obstacles and directly cross over. It was like building a bridge in the air, directly crossing over forests and mountains. Although it was painful, it was very magical. Chuli smiled. "Let's put it this way. Imminent Skyline can only reach places that the eyes can see. As for God's limbs, it can only reach places that the mind can sense. Now that I've merged both of them, it's considered a new God's limbs, and I can reach places that I want." Co Sure's beautiful eyes flashed as if she was deep in thought. "In other words, you can go wherever you want." Chuli said, "More or less. Of course, I have to go to places that I can clearly remember. If I want to go to the Food Dynasty, that's impossible. If I want to go back to the High Duke's public house, that's not a problem. Can you bring me along?" Co Sure hurriedly asked. Chuli pondered. "Bringing you along will consume 10 times more inner energy than if I did it myself. It's not a problem if the distance is close." "Then let's give it a try," Co Sure said with a smile. "How about going to Qingyin Town?" Although Qingyin Town was broken, it gave her the best memories. It was warm and wonderful. "It's too far," Chuli said. Co Sure glared at him. Chuli smiled, "But we can give it a try." Co Sure stood up. Her graceful curves flashed and disappeared, covered by her loose purple robe. Chuli got off the bed and held her wrist. The two of them disappeared. In the next moment, the two of them appeared outside the temple. Co Sure did not feel uncomfortable this time. She only felt a flash in front of her, as if it had darkened for a moment. Then, it quickly became bright again. She was already standing outside the temple. "It's much better than your light body technique," Co Sure said. "With this, I can run away even if I can't win." Chuli nodded. "Let's go." The combination of God's limbs and Imminent Skyline was far better than any of them. The two of them disappeared again and reappeared a few times along the way. Thanks to his photographic memory, he could clearly remember every place he passed. From the Titanium Temple to Qingyin Town, he flashed 5 times and finally appeared in his courtyard. Co Sure let out a long sigh of relief and smiled sweetly. Chuli said, "Why don't you stay here? I'll go back to the Titanium Temple. What if someone tries to kill me?" Co Sure rolled her eyes. Chuli removed the prayer beads from his wrist. "If there's any danger, crush one, and I'll come back immediately. This Sarira prayer bead is already compatible with my heart. Forget it. I'll go back with you." Co Sure waved her hand and did not take the prayer beads. "This thing is very precious. Crushing one will make your heart ache for a few days." Chuli smiled and put on, "All right then, take some daily necessities and we'll go back to the temple. I want to continue comprehending all-seeing heaven and earth and try to cultivate it." "You might as well become a monk," Co Sure said unhappily. Chuli said, "My 6 senses are impure. I can't become a monk. Otherwise, I wouldn't have left the Temple of Autumn." Co Sure entered the house and changed her clothes. She took a few more items and made them into a bundle. Chuli brought her back to the titanium temple. The titanium temple was still quiet. Seosher smiled and put down the bundle. She said, "Chuli, the most convenient thing to do after cultivating God's limbs is to see my sister." Chuli's expression changed slightly. Seosher pursed her lips and laughed. Chuli sighed. His initial excitement was gone. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.